All right. Now call the city council special meeting to order for November the 17th. Please rise to the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. Lord, we ask that your wisdom would be here in this meeting, Father. We ask that your Holy Spirit would lead us and guide us tonight, Lord. We ask that there would be peace, Father. We ask that this would be concise, Lord. We ask that you would show us exactly what to do, Lord. Lord, we appreciate your time, Father. We thank you for keeping us all safe, Lord. Lord, we just ask that you would just bless this meeting, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May you be seated. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Here.
Councilmember McCure.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you. We have one and only discussion item tonight. This will be the Avon Park Executive Airport lease discussion. I would assume that Lowell or Nick will be doing most of the talking tonight. So, Lowell, if you are ready.
Is Nick on the line?
I am, yes.
Whichever of you would like to take it, please go ahead.
Okay, we've got a presentation if you want to pull that up. You can go to the next page.
Lowell will probably ask you to pull that microphone as close to you as you can.
The items that we'll cover is the background on the lease, concerns that we noted in meetings and reviewing records last week, and council actions and opportunities for the future and potential impacts of those considerations. As far as the significance, just a reminder of what got us here on the next page, please. Okay. This lease was executed after approval by Federal Aviation Administration, commonly called FAA, in November 22nd of last year, with Florida Airport Management, commonly called FAM, KVO, using the acronym for the airport. That is a sub of Florida Airport Management, FAM, and also a subsidiary of Rossi Group. And those were all three part of the application. This was intended to be a lease to drive airport expansion and enhance service quality, and also provide economic development for the community. Were the primary goals. Next page. We verified that there was a change in control under the lease. The definition of that is 20% of the ownership. There was a change October 2nd of 2025. The prior CEO, J.T. Clark, resigned and transferred ownership of his shares to three existing members of Rossi Group and FAM KVO. So that ownership change occurred. There was not notification prior to that to the city. The city and FAA are required to approve those changes. That did not occur. So that is, in fact, a breach of the lease. And that is not curable. Next page. We also verified there are tenant deposits that are made when a tenant signs a lease at the airport. Typically that's 2 months of rent that are deposited in a bank account that are held. That bank account was transferred from the city to FAM as part of the transfer of assets to the leasee. We verified that information, and there is a shortfall in that account at this point. In other words, the bank balance is less than the deposit should be.
We don't know what that number is.
We do know that number, but that is protected confidential information at this point. And we can ask FAM KVO if you would like to be disclosed. We do know the amount, and we can document that for you. Basic financial information, you would consider profit and loss statements, balance sheets, those types of information are not readily available at this point. That would show airport revenues, expenses, net income, operating loss, whether there was a income or a loss for the year. So we don't really know how the performance was during the time period, which is almost a year now, and we don't know exactly where things are as far as those assets. We do have bank statements, and we were provided information that essentially showed cash in, cash out. Okay, but we don't have it all defined at this point as to what it is. And there were some transfers out of FAM-KVO to parent companies, so we don't know all that yet. Fuel purchase and sales, as far as the amount purchased, sold, and on hand is not readily available. Those records are being recreated at this point, but they were not able to provide that to us when we met with them last week. And according to the staff, there is an employee that admitted that there were some loss of fuel. We're not exactly sure what that means. Was it diverted, or what happened to that? We anticipate it was probably diverted to other uses without being, in other words, paid for. During that time period, we don't know the extent of that at this point. The records are not readily available, so we don't know at this particular point. These are all grant requirements of the Federal Aviation Administration and Florida DOT that are not being met at this particular point in time. Next slide. There is a performance and operating bond that was required under the lease that the lessee would provide as a backstop should there be issues, such as the lease backed out, the city had to take over, or there were other issues. That lease bond amount is $182,400. It is still in effect. It is running out November 22nd of this year, so later this week. So it would cover items that occurred during the bond period. So the shortage in the deposits could be a claim. If there were fuel items that were taken, that could be a claim, as an example. So those items would be available under the bond. FAM-KVO noted to us, if you could back up just a second. FAM-KVO noted to us that the bond company requires them to have audited financial statements before they will consider renewing a bond. They indicated to us it would be at least 2 months before they could provide that, which means you would have a period of time there would be no ability for a bond to be in place if this continues beyond the 27th. And if there was not a bond in place, that would be a breach of the lease. That is a requirement of the lease. Next slide. There are safety concerns. If you have questions, Randy got into that in more detail, but there were clearly locks not working on the gates and also on the pedestrian entrance at the site. And Randy did verify that as well with the staff. Those have been operating and not operating at times apparently during the lease, but right now they are not actively operating. So the safety and security of the airport right now is not adequate. And it's a pretty good indication of plane fires there was ready access for that to get onto the site and pursue that particular issue. FAM has indicated to us in the meeting last week it is their intent to continue with the lease. They have hired outside CPA to assist them in going through. They anticipate having financial statements unaudited in about 2 weeks and audited in about 2 months. They are timely working with DEP to clean up from the fires that occurred with the 3 planes and the 4th one that had accelerant in it. And they were forthcoming in the meeting, so they were very open and honest with us when we had the conversation. And my understanding is they are available today for questions. Next slide.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes.
The slide before that one. It said no plan to solve the security issues in the short period.
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
I asked him about the no plan to solve the security issues in a short period.
Okay.
And he said, no, there was not. Okay.
Next slide, please. So the real issue now is the bond is in place and active. So we also know there are losses, so that's really an urgent issue. And there is ability to notify the bond company and to let them know you are aware of certain issues. You don't know the extent of all those issues, but you at least put them on notice. It's like making an insurance claim for an action, and you put them on notice that you would like to pursue these in the future. So at least it holds your space, in essence, to pursue against the bond company for any potential losses. And these are some of the items that it could cover if that is a desire of the council. Next slide. Our team did discuss between Melody, Randy, the outside counsel, Council Burr, and myself about some options. Option one, you clearly have under the lease the right to take over the airport. Grant requirements are not being met, and that is one of the options in the lease, is to step in and take over the airport if grant requirements are not being met. So you do have the ability to step in immediately if that is a choice of the council. You would need to notify for subsequent breach to the entity and go through the process of terminating the lease if that's your desire under the breach. And then you would need to obviously supervise the transfer, make sure that occurs timely, and hire a new operator under that option. Next slide. Some of the implications of that is you could have potential disruption of operations at the airport. In a short run, the financial records are all held by FAM KVO, so the transition of that could be challenging. They hold all the bank accounts in their name, they hold all the accounting records in their name, so those items would have to be transferred, and that likely would be challenging. Cost of a new airport operator would need to be brought on board, and all airport, on the positive side, all the processes would transfer back to the city. So you would be in essentially control of the airport at that point for all operations. Now the challenge of that is safety and security would now be your responsibility, and all the other issues that you would need to do would fall within your responsibility. As far as accounting records, you would probably have to go in and do a forensic audit to find out kind of what happened to support a bond claim. So those things would all be part of that. Next slide. So the second option we identified is you could notify FAM KVO of a default. You could notify them of the key issues and give them a short time frame to resolve those issues. In other words, restore the deposits, provide you audited financial information, and partner with the city to start securing grant funds and to resolve the issues between FAA, which as of now has not moved the sponsor from the city to FAM KVO, and also where you can pursue FDOT grants. Now there has been some work done on that, and what I mean by that is FAA is willing to provide grants to FAM KVO, provided DOT is willing to provide grants to the city. Okay, now FDOT said we can't grant to a private entity, we would have to grant it to the city, and then the city could move forward with the grant. And you could work with FAM KVO to do that. So, again, at the end of that time period, if there are not more certificate issues that pop up and everything is clean, then you can continue forward with the lease at that point. To do so, you would have to waive the breach of the change of control. Okay, because that's not curable. So that would be a responsibility of the city to waive that, to continue forward. So potential implications of that on the next slide. There are some of the same members of FAM KVO, and what I'll call this is, we'll call it FAM KVO version 1 ownership group, and now we have FAM KVO version 2 ownership group. There are some of the same people involved in both. Okay, so it's not all new people coming into the new group. So there is some overlap there. The FA and FDOT likely is not going to support grants during this interim period until they kind of get from you, hey, things are clean and moving forward. FA is a third-party beneficiary to the lease, so they're going to may have some input in that, and you might need to reach out to them. Nick has talked to them, so he can provide more on that if you have questions on that. They will not be in a position to renew the performance bond for at least 2 months until they audited financial statements, and if you make claims on the current bonds, that may make it even more challenging for them to get a new bond.
What if we just put the bond company on notice that we may have claims, as you discussed earlier?
I think it still would be challenging for them to get a new bond.
So really, what we could do is, if we waived, we would still have the bond issue to deal with, which
That's
could end up
correct.
to be uncurable. By the time we find out that it's uncurable, it'll be too late to get one, and that one will have expired. We won't even have the $180,000.
No, you'll still have that for claims prior to November 22nd.
So, but we have to make that claim,
Yes.
no matter what. So we're going to put them in the position of not being able to get a bond at that point, probably.
It will be a challenging position to get a new bond. Yes.
And Jerry, if I could just add to
would
the
not
bond
be an
issue,
option, but it
the
would be
requirement of the
challenging.
bond is that the city notify
Nick,
the bond.
we can't hardly hear you.
Hold on one second. How's this, better?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
All right, give me 1 second.
So while he's adjusting his volume, Mr. Clary, let me ask you, even if we were to extend that and there's not really a guarantee that they would even issue a bond at that point,
That is correct.
even if they did come with us to shiny clean financials, that's not a guarantee.
No, and think of it this way. If you had a major claim on your insurance, you know, in today's world on property insurance, they may just cancel it. So you just don't know. And the way these bonds work, you have to have assets to back them up. So they may come to them and say, hey, you put up 50% of the asset of the bond value, we'll give you a new bond. But that would then tie up their funds to be able to do that. So I'm not saying no, it can't be done. I'm just saying it would be very challenging to get it done, if at all.
Is there a time period that we have to make a claim against the bond after the November 22nd date passes?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to chime in here, and I'm sorry, I don't know if it's the microphone or the speakers in the room, but the requirement of the bond is that the city put the bond company on notice 30 days from whatever it is that you're making a claim against. So there is a time period for that.
So but will notice be good enough once we pass the 22nd, or do we have to actually make the claim before the 22nd?
In my experience, having pursued claims against bonds in the past, I believe, and this bond may be different. It's only 3 pages long, so it may just be bond company policies that we have to get into. But typically, you can file a notice when you are aware of whatever the underlying breach is, and then the damages may not be calculated until down the road, and the ultimate payout is not known. So as Lowell said, it's similar to filing an insurance claim where you may not, know
Yeah,
the
it just
value
takes
of the
time to
payout.
put everything together for
Okay.
the claim.
So when did our clock start then?
Your clock has not started yet. You have
Okay.
until the 22nd to put them on notice. So this week,
Okay.
you would need to put them on notice this week. And then at that point, I would say a reasonable time period is probably 90 days to actually make a claim. So they may push for more, but they're going to have to be reasonable to allow you time to go into the records, find out exactly what all the claim items are, and then make those claims.
What about the 30 days? I mean, are we getting close to the 30 days as to somebody saying that we either knew or should have known that there was a problem?
Well, we knew last week.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have 30 days from last week
Yes,
then.
ma'am.
To put them on notice.
Yes.
If it wasn't for the 22nd deadline.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would put them on notice this week.
Yeah.
So at least that you become aware that there are issues.
Sure.
So the last slide is really looking at legal and regulatory considerations. As the sponsor of the airport at this point, you would be responsible for notifying FAA and FDOT there is a breach in the lease and what the breaches you know about are today. And since you are the sponsor at this point, it may heighten your responsibility related to safety and security issues. Now, DOT did have a grant for those issues available about a year ago. They did pull that at that particular point in time, so they may be open to reconsidering that. I think that's worth a conversation with FDOT, between the city and FDOT to have that conversation.
Is it
And
something
those grant funds were to upgrade the safety and security issues there. That was a big part of it.
so somebody from staff could make that call and find out from them if that's still available
Absolutely.
to the city at least?
Yes.
So is that the $450,000 one, or the 474?
But I
Yeah,
believe
that's
that's
it.
the one, but I reached out to Dawn Gallen at FDOT today and left her a message to discuss that, so I'll let you guys know what she says.
And in addition, you are now aware that there is a shortage in the escrow funds, and those don't belong to FAMKVO, they really belong to the tenants. So that's an item that certainly is gonna potentially drive notification to agencies that would need to deal with that.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When did DOT pull the grants and why?
I don't know if you want to add to this, but they pulled it primarily because there was confusion about the sponsor and who was going to be doing it. And at that point, DOT legally did not have the legal authority to do it, so they had to pull it. In other words, they could not make a grant to a governmental agency that had a private operator with a lease on the airport. State statute didn't allow it. Okay, so they pulled it for that reason. Since then, the state statute has been changed. Okay, we worked on some issues. I worked with your team on that to help get the legislation changed so that now a publicly owned and operated airport that was then publicly owned and operated by a private entity could get state grants. So that's been changed now. So DOT is now able to do that. Whereas when this lease got executed, they couldn't by state law.
So if I'm correct, I just want to clarify this. We lost a $474,000 grant for the repairs at the airport because of the sponsorship in July, correct?
I don't know that I would couch it exactly that way. I would say DOT pulled it because the state law didn't allow it at that point.
Okay.
So since then, the state law has changed. So they may be willing to reallocate it.
But that's not necessarily a guarantee also either, right?
It depends on how they look at it.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for your presentation there, Lowell?
No, sir. FAM KVO indicated they would be here and would be available to respond to your questions, and I believe they may want to provide
Sure.
some input to the council.
Let's see if Nick has anything to add at this point, assuming we can hear him. Nick, you have anything
No,
to add?
I don't have anything to add, and hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Guys from FAM, just give your name and organization for the record. And
Can you guys hear me clearly?
yes, sir.
Awesome. Hello, my name is Casey Roberts. Some of you guys know me already. I was an original founder with JT Clark when it came to the Rossi Group and Florida Airport Management. As Lowell stated, some of us were already part of this organization. If you don't mind, I'd like to address just a couple of the things that Lowell had discussed already, and then
Sure.
I have prepared a packet for you guys. Unfortunately, I have the fifth one, so whoever didn't get one, I'll be sure to give this to you guys in the end. Whoever doesn't have it, and then I'm going to follow along and be
We
able
all
to
got one somehow.
talk to you guys about it. So the performance bond, I want to start with that one. I've talked to Paul Hagan from IOA. He specifically stated that he was just looking for the financials from Florida Airport Management and for the Rossi Group. He did not state whether it was needed to be audited or unaudited, whether, what position that was, but we currently have an accountant, third party, going through our books in QuickBooks to make sure that everything in there is correct as far as assets, liabilities, and of course the cash flow. So I at least wanted to bring that up. We are still recognizing that's a priority. We're not looking to push that. I'm trying to make that 22nd deadline. I do have an invoice from that third party, and he told me he would have it done in 2 weeks. So I'm expecting to try to have something no later than Wednesday and at least get that out to Paul Hagan, and then we can go from there. But I understand your guys' position when it comes to this. The grant assurance for the fence project, that is also in the packet that I've provided. It specifically has an email that states the date that grant was removed by Don Gallen, so that you guys can look at the date on that and see specifically, that it was removed. She does not state in that email why it is, but I would like to point out that a lot of the information that we are providing to you today, we did label as confidential because we are a private company. So when it comes to financials, as Lowell has prior stated, the FAA recognizes that we're a private company and that our information should be private. And the Florida Statutes 117 states any financial data is private to us, along with our private documents. So you'll see confidential on there. There are some items that you guys might have that I have labeled confidential, whereas it might be an email that is included, with Danielle or Melody or anybody else from the city. So we labeled it confidential for our information. If you guys want to make it public because of, a FOIA or whatever somebody asks, that's up to you guys. So I just wanted to point that out. So on the first page here, you can see that I've got a presentation packet. It is labeled as such. I've got 1 through 5 on that on this paper. I identified the questions that you guys sent out per the MOU that originally came from Melody, and then followed it up with the demand letter from Mr. Burr, and then the final demand letter we received on the 7th to identify those questions you guys had and be able to directly assess those for you guys. We're sorry that it took a minute to get this information to you, but again, as shareholders of this company, we are still bound by a shareholders agreement that states what information is confidential and who we're supposed to share it with. Now, I do understand that the city is a partner, AIPP, Airport Improvement Partnership Program, so we do have to at least work with you guys, and we fully want to. We just want to make sure we're doing it in the right way between city and the company. So I don't know if you guys would like to go through each one of these specifically. I don't know if we have the time to. I've laid out what our answers are going to be. I did want to point out that the owners that did take the voting shares of the company, first of all, Nikki Roberts is one of them. She did not receive new ones. It was the two owners of the company were J.T. Clark and Nicole Roberts. Nicole Roberts had 300 voting shares, and J.T. Clark had 700, which is why J.T. had the voting power to pretty much do whatever he wanted to do. But she has always been an original. The ones that were added were myself, Charlie Brown, and Michael Powell. JT gave his voting shares to Charlie Brown and Michael Powell to ensure continuity because you guys already know them. They're already part of the AIPP, and they meet the requirement under the AIPP to the two key positions that are labeled in the AIPP as the airport manager and the operations manager. So they're still part of the organization at this time and still assisting in this whole process. So when you talk about overlap, that's what we're talking about at this time.
So JT Clark no longer has any shares of that company.
So I want to point out that you do have a cap table there. It'll show you the date that those shares were transferred, and it shows a cap table in the back of that. Okay. So you can see everybody that is a shareholder in the Rossi Group, which again is the parent company to FAM and FAMK AVO.
So they're going to be totally gone from the airport at this point, or did you make some kind of deal that would cause them to be able to be at the airport after this?
When you say before and after,
after this meeting,
right now as we speak, Charlie Brown, myself, Nicole Roberts, and Michael Powell have the voting shares in this company. Michael Powell is still the CEO of FAM. We did not want to take him away because of the AIPP, and he still is very much wanting to participate in this. Kind of feels like his hands were tied when it comes to the grants and assurances. We'll get into those in this packet so I can address why it is we didn't get that money and where we're at today.
But my question was regarding JT after this.
He is no longer a voting share member of this company.
Is he going to be at the airport?
Say that again.
Is he going to be involved in the airport?
No, he's not going to be involved in the airport.
Not going to be at the airport?
Not going to be at the airport. Okay. He is a B shareholder at this time.
So is Biotech, are they still at the airport?
Biotech is not at the airport. So you're talking about BioApplied Research, is that correct?
Yes.
Now? So they were holding some biochar at the airport. Just to back that up, that letter stated from you guys that there was burning going on out there. There has never been any burning going on at the airport. That is something we would absolutely not allow. They were storing some of the biochar at one point in time. We had them remove it, and there's been zero issue since.
I believe there was an environmental study that addressed that as well.
So the environmental study that I saw, excuse me, Mayor, the environmental study I saw had something to do with painting or where an aircraft was parked. We received the report from ECT, and it stated there was nothing there, and that was the only report that I've seen since those letters have come out. So
Gotcha.
As far as I understand, there's been zero concerns.
Was there any sampling of around the biochar storage area or anything like that?
The biochar was on a concrete pad, so
Okay.
there wasn't a concern with that, and it was bagged up. It was more of the dumping of alleged chemicals out there that we tested for, and nothing was found.
Very good.
So the group was out there for over a year now, and I know they made a big deal about the fact that the security fence needed to be fixed and to make the airport secure, and yet nothing was done in a year. You know why?
So the cost of fixing any of that fence out there is ridiculously high. There are holes in the fence. Fixing a gate is not going to fix y'all's issue. Just to be blunt, when I was part of the original creation of the original lease for 2024, when we just had the lease agreement. As a matter of fact, if you guys wanted to, I could provide you a video right now, or I took of a drone video of the entire airport to identify what the fences look like, the holes in the fence, the holes underneath the fence, the dilapidated fencing period. It still won't keep anybody out. You could right now, and we've gotten bids because we tried to and wanted to pay for it ourselves, of approximately $1,700 just for the bid for the gate itself, nothing else. That still wouldn't fix the holes that are out there in the fence. So this fencing project was a big deal. Per the decision of record per the FAA, which is in your packet as well, you'll see that it states the FAA knew all of this. As a matter of fact, there were comments provided to the FAA going through the AIPP process that stated this fence is a problem. The FAA recognized it and stated that that will be FAM's priority when it comes to grant assurances and that we have 2 years to cure that issue. FAM did everything they could starting in 2023 to get this grant from the FDOT. It was canceled, I believe, in January. That is in that packet I provided to you from Don Gallen with a statement and subject line of closed for that grant, just closed. So we procured, and I have that gentleman here, Launch Strategies, Mr. Todd Zimmerman, was a big part of putting that project together. He is out countless funds of putting that together, getting it to pre-application through every other position, only for it to be closed on us. Danielle Kelly was very familiar and aware of what was going on with that. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure she was part of some of the phone calls with FDOT. So we have been trying to attack that vigorously starting in 2023. Just got canceled in beginning of 2025, and then got notification from the FAA recently that the city is going to be the sponsor. Even right now, even though we're supposed to be the sponsor for both DOT and FAA, FAA has noted that DOT will only go through the city and the FAA will recognize FAM as the sponsor. So they will provide us funds, but anything through DOT has to go through the city. I want it also noted on the decision of record, it also states, and I've highlighted it for you in that packet, that FAM, excuse me, the FAA recognizes that the FDOT was not going to provide FAM money. In the decision of record, the FAA already knew that and stated that there are FAA funds that they could give outside of FDOT to cure one of these issues. You'll see that in the decision of record. So this is not new information that is being provided. This is all information that has been already provided by the FAA.
So when the FAA gave that notification that they had the outside funds, what was the process behind that? I guess why did it stop there, and could it have gone forward, and can it now?
From my understanding, just like Mr. Clary stated, there are funds available. As a matter of fact, in that decision of record, it states there are $3 million that the FAA could provide along with other funds to go ahead and do projects out at this airport. I will tell you that also what's in this packet provided to us is we just on October 30th got recognized by the FAA as being able to be a sponsor and asked us for our financial records to be able to get us into the Delphi system to receive this grant funding. This was not provided up until October 30th. So I know you guys look at us like, hey, you've been there a year. You're right, we have. And we have done everything to still operate this airport as per the AIPP as a public use airport. We've increased fuel sales. We've now got 100% rental capacity done. One of the dilapidated buildings out there, the pool building, if any of you are familiar with, we were able to rent that out and give rent credits to that individual so that they could fix that building and use it as part of their business. So we're trying to use every square inch of space you guys have out there at that airport.
One question I have, I understand the financial impact it would take to fix the fence, but what about the gate and the walk-in gate? Why wasn't that fixed permanently as well as locked up any fuel things? Well, I mean, if you can still get access, why not still at least have the gate locked all the time and the walk-in gate locked all the time?
So to answer your question, as far as I know, the gates were locked. This is new that anything was not locked or secured. I don't have an answer to that because as far as I knew and understood, that it was secured. Everything was working the last time that I was out at that airport. So I don't have an answer to that other than we have been aggressively attacking this fence project, which included the fences, the gates, you name it, everywhere around that airport. And when it got closed to us in January, side note, we also went to the state and got the law changed for FDOT to recognize us as a sponsor, and they still won't. So that is why the FAA has recognized that you guys are the sponsor for FDOT and we're the sponsor for the FAA.
Are you aware of any reason why the city couldn't apply for those FAA funds to get that grant fixed right now?
There is
Get the gate fixed right now?
I
Or
don't think there's
fencing
anything
fixed?
that would preclude you guys from moving
Okay.
forward with trying to get any of those funds.
Okay, and not to interrupt you, but Lowell or staff, I mean, are you guys aware of any reason why we couldn't apply for those FAA funds to fix the fencing?
No, sir. You can apply for them right now.
Okay. And the grant matches on those, do you know what percentage they typically are? Are they 100% funded, 90?
Many cases for rural airports, they would be 90-10.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to remember that.
Okay.
So they would be 90-10.
Well, certainly we want to look at our next earliest convenience of being able to go after those grant funds. I mean, if it's something that we can do right now.
I apologize, Mayor, but I did get an email from Mr. McGarry, which is the current ADO in Orlando, and he stated it was 70-30, but I don't know what specifically. I'm just letting you know that I have seen that number. I've not seen 90-10, but that'll be something that Lowell Clary can vet out.
Okay.
So I have a question.
I do.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking of the pool building, didn't we have an insurance claim on that, Melanie? Back in when the hurricane hit?
I think it was before me. I think it was Hurricane Ida, I
Okay.
believe.
And did you replace a roof on that building?
So nothing was replaced on that building.
So
when
you
we-
didn't put a new roof on that building
We did
at
not
all?
put a new roof on it, no, ma'am.
Okay, well.
So
okay.
what did you do with the insurance money?
We didn't do any insurance claim when we got there. It was done prior to her, which means it was done prior to us. We had no impact on that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, my next question is, were you responsible to get cameras out there?
So cameras were already out there as far as I knew. As a matter of fact, when we took over the original lease, I had a login for those cameras. I don't know. I'll tell you right now, this is part of the issue that Lowell had brought up, the changing of new fam versus old fam. I'm trying to make sure that everything is corrected. I've only been at this now 2 months, being back at focusing on getting that airport up to speed when it comes to security. Where the cameras are at right now, I have no answer for you. I don't know.
So you're saying you don't know where the cameras are and you don't know if they're working or not?
I know the cameras are on the edge of the building. I cannot log into them, which is to me indicative of an issue of a communication problem with the wireless system out there. And I will tell you that anytime that building gets struck by lightning, it affects the cameras, it affects the internet, it affects the fuel farm, it affects everything. It blows out electronics. It's just what naturally happens out there consistently. So it could have been blown out at any point in time.
But at some point, we're talking about an airport here.
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, when were the camera checked? I mean, do you have a log of the security system or when the cameras was checked, when they was operable?
I'm going to have to get back to you with that answer now.
Okay, so you'd mentioned earlier that the FAA was gonna come back and give you guys, I don't know, you spit out a date of October 30th.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
was that for?
That was for the FAA recognizing us as a sponsor and telling us that we needed to provide financials to be able to get into the Delphi system.
Okay, so my question to you is, you know that they're gonna come back and ask for financials, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why weren't your financials in order anyway? I mean, a big corporation like Rossi claims to be, you'd think that your financials would be on spot and readily available within 8 hours or 12 hours or something, or the next day. I just can't imagine. I don't know why your financials were so far out of whack. What happened there?
So to answer that question, we don't know how far out of whack they are, if at all. We've already found the issue of security deposits. That goes to already having some sort of financial integrity. We need to make sure that everything is clear with it. I, as the finance director, do not want to provide bad information to anybody. So the second I came in, I did a cash flow analysis to identify the accounts. And now we're trying to make sure that our QuickBooks is clean to those accounts, along with any assets and liabilities that are already listed and labeled in QuickBooks.
Dr. Kelly, whenever we requested, what was the very first time we requested their financials?
September 5th.
September 5th. And we just got them on what, Friday?
No, we did not get financials.
Oh, you haven't got
We
them.
got just a list of bank ins and outs.
Okay.
Okay.
So then if FAA were to come to you and say, we need your financials, you still wouldn't be ready. They would still have to wait.
So the FAA is waiting on our
Right,
financials right now.
right.
So is the bond company. So is the 90-day after our closing of October 1st per the AIPP. Everybody's waiting on the financials. That is why it is a priority right now, and which is why Lero Sarbi has been hired to do the investigative audit that you guys are looking for that will satisfy the 90-day after the fiscal year, as well as an independent accountant to be able to go through the books in QuickBooks to make sure we can pull a clean P&L, a clean balance sheet, a clean AP and AR, which is what's happening right now. And that I just said earlier, I'm trying to get no later than Wednesday.
Right, but usually a company will have their financials either once after the quarter or halfway through the year. Your last quarter would have been September 30th. You should have had your financials ready, right? Or even June 30th. Okay, and they weren't done, and they still aren't done. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why your financials are so out of whack. And to go back a little bit where you said y'all's issue with the fence, was the fence like that when you took ownership of it?
Yes, it was, ma'am. As a
was?
matter of fact, Mr. Todd Zimmerman was here 20 years ago. He can tell you everything about this airport because he was also a part of it before he became our consultant, and can tell you even then there were issues with the AWAS, ASOS, and fence. So this has been an ongoing issue for years.
I have a question. You keep talking about the financials. We're getting reports from our city that not only it was just financials documents, but overdue reports as well. I mean, I'm like Miss Shelley. You don't seem to have nothing in order.
No, it's.
So what are we to think?
Listen, I completely understand where you guys are sitting right now looking at this.
Do you really?
No, I do, because since beginning of November, when we took over the AIPP or signed the AIPP, there were things we were supposed to be providing every month. Did you guys receive those? The answer is no. That was why you guys asked for it in the letter. But you guys on the other end didn't request it until that first letter that you guys sent on September 5th stating, as a matter of fact, it wasn't even a letter, it was an MOU stating, these are the requirements under the AIPP, and by the way, can you make sure to have 1 and 4 done in a timely manner? I immediately, the second I saw that MOU, created a rail to make sure that I could start identifying and getting that information to you guys. As a matter of fact, it's part of this packet right here of information of things that you guys were looking for. Part of it is the fuel sales, which goes to what he discussed. We don't know what fuel is missing, if at all, but we have to do an audit of it. We have the information from AEG that provides how much fuel received, the cost of it, and now we have to do a comparison of what we sold it for to be able to find out what fuel, if any, is actually missing. So we're in that process.
Okay, so
but if you guys would have asked for that since the beginning of November, we would have been organized since that date to be providing it.
So let me ask you this question. What were your responsibility to make sure that you had these documents and that they was produced on time? What was your responsibility in it?
So my responsibility was 0. I wasn't here during the signing of the AIPP, ma'am. I'm trying to tell you that I have been out of the loop for the last 2 years. The second that I heard that there might have been a concern about malfeasance, funding, all of this stuff that you have identified as being a breach to this lease, I decided it was time to come back and try to fix things.
And so you're telling us today that you said you was out of the loop.
Yes.
Why
for 2
were
years.
you out of the loop? And
So-
why are you here now? Why are you coming back? I get it, you're coming back because it's like Shelley said, it's tore up from the floor out there. I get that part. But why were you out of the loop? And where were you?
So I was never a voting shareholder in the company.
Mm-hmm.
since the inception of American hemp manufacturing is where this all started and why we wanted to go to airports to create a new regenerative technology for hemp. JT Clark and I and Nicole Roberts all started American hemp manufacturing, and it went from there. 2 years ago, when I was part of the lease with the city, once we applied for it, I had to step down for 2 years. I had to step back. I have my own companies outside of this that I had to also work with. So we had to, I had other obligations as well. I had already helped complete the lease. We had an airport manager that was going to be out here that was a certified airport manager. We had plenty of personnel. I thought everything was going completely well, especially considering we're bringing in the right consultants that have done projects before, that know how to do grant assurances, which, by the way, I'd like to let you know, Mayor, that if you guys are going to go after that, I highly recommend speaking with him, because he'll be able to guide you guys very clearly on probably how to get those funds. He might have done at least 3/4 of the work for you already, if not. So
at what point did you find out that, things is out of whack out there? At what point?
July this year.
July of this year.
I got notified that things were happening. And the second that I was able to get some type of information, we immediately stepped up and started trying to take control and turn this thing around, basically.
And here we in November, and you didn't think that the city was going to be requesting for reports and documents and financials?
No, that's exactly why I went into a deep dive and did my everything that Lowell Cleary has been provided by me through Excels of my own accounting, by statements and CSV draws directly from the security account, the checking account for both Rossi, FAM, and FAM KEVO. That's a lot of information to go through for one individual. I wanted to make sure things were right. I don't put out information that's bad. I like to make sure anything I'm putting out is clear.
Mr. Roberts' own question is, Nicole Roberts, she's always been a voting share, correct?
Yes, sir.
So has she been involved at all? Because you would be knowledgeable any information she would have.
So per the bylaws, JT Clark was able to do whatever he wanted without notifying other voting members. She has never been able to be a part of what's going on.
Sounds like they weren't very good bylaws then, huh?
That's why we're looking at changing them right now. That's why we are back, and why we call it a new fam and old fam. I understand that you guys are upset, and you have every right to be. But that's why we have come back and decided that this is something we can do. I provided in there my DD 214. I'm a prior PC officer, aviation maintenance officer. When it comes to aviation, I'm familiar. The only thing I haven't done is actually run an airport. But one of my other companies is a real estate company. I know real estate. My wife was a broker at one point in time. This is why this was also very enticing. It included both things that we're a part of, aviation and real estate. So I was part of the original lease in creating that. If you look at any of the documents that were created, and I can provide you numerous things, including all the financial data that I got from the city that discussed old grants. I was in here in meetings discussing what those grants went to, and where it should be going now for the airport.
Okay, so obviously, part of the frustration of the council is that we routinely get calls, emails, whatever, from people that want to use the airport, people that have used the airport, people that are just curious, that are basically unhappy, with how things have gone. Either it's some type of a maintenance issue or accessibility. There's always something, right? So the real question is, what do you think led to this point, and what are you going to do differently going forward if allowed?
So it's kind of a unique position how this all went down. I don't know if you guys, obviously, if we're praying before all this goes on, I believe things happen for a reason, especially, excuse me, when it comes to God. With us now, just October 30th, being offered the right to be able to get into the Delphi system and allow Michael Powell, which is our airport manager, to do what he is used to doing, which is getting into the JSIP, now collecting funds from the FAA. They recognize us as a sponsor. This is not starting from November, where we didn't know who the sponsor was, who's FDOT going to give money to, who's the FAA going to give money to. That's no longer a question. FAA has sent an email recognizing FDOT, city, FAA, FAM. They've made it clear. They've made it clear that they have funds available to start pushing projects. We are going to aggressively, just like we started in 2023, go after those funds to improve this airport. There's nothing more than we want to see this airport improve. I'm prior aviation for 21 years. I don't like going out there and seeing lights that don't work. I don't like going out there and seeing that the grass isn't mowed. I don't like going out there and seeing that, runways or taxiways are getting broken down because of years of abuse. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. We're going to do everything we can to attack those problems. Again, I want to address Todd Zimmerman. He's a great consultant. He's been doing this for how long? 38 years. He's already done the legwork for that fencing project. We had already applied for it. All we have to do is take his data, his processes, his paperwork, and reapply. And it'll happen a lot quicker because we are now recognized as the sponsor out there.
Okay. So you mentioned that you were going to be getting funds from FAA. So I may have misunderstood what you said, but are you saying that you are now going to be applying for grants through FAA?
We are. That's specifically why I mentioned that, sir, is that the Delphi system allows us to get into the FAA's portal and now start making requests, putting in the information that's required to get this moving much more quickly without having to do something ourselves, provide it to the city provide it up, and then working that direction. This makes it so direct sponsor, FAM, can do what the city could normally do. Now we just don't. We, of course, include you guys as... Sorry. So yeah, I'm just saying we can aggressively attack it now with the FAA funds. We have a much easier route because they officially recognize us per the email Mr. McGarry provided.
Okay.
I'm going to let Todd speak.
Can I ask one question too? One other part of that is, I get the maintenance and all of that kind of stuff, the stuff that we needed to fix. But another big promise, I guess, that was made to us was the economic development and the airport reaching its full potential. So if you are receiving those FAA grants, does that give you like an administrative fee to where you guys are actually... I understand that you guys have to make money or you're not going to stay out there. Okay, so how are we going to get that piece? And is it even possible to get that piece the way that FDOT is recognizing grants and the FAA?
So with the FDOT going through you guys would get the money and be... As a matter of fact, I'm going to let Todd speak to the most of that question. The only thing that I wanted to address to that is that when the FAA provides it directly to us, and you mentioned the admin fee. So per the AIPP, two or three of the things that we had to ask for was to be able to go outside of normal FAA procedures, and that is being able to use funds that are provided to the airport, not directly to airport projects. Meaning, FAM requests an exclusion. It was approved under the AIPP. Now we can take a portion of it to pay our fees. If you look at the AIPP, it actually has a schedule of specifically the first one is 90-10. If we make anywhere from $1 up to $250,000, Florida Airport Management can keep 90% of that money to be able to help fund ourselves. Now, the bigger that number gets, the more money percentage goes to the city and separated between FAM and the city so that it helps with your guys's, I'm calling it exclusion, but I'm pretty sure there's another word for it. Lowell will probably correct me. But either way, one of the things the city has is the city has never been allowed or not supposed to be allowed to take funds that were going to the airport and putting it in your general fund or your sanitation fund or anything else. It's all supposed to have been used out at the airport. Under this exclusion that was approved under the FAA, one of them was specifically for the city to be able to use funds that you collect from any projects out at the airport in your funds that are city only. The funds that I just previously stated, like the sanitation or general fund. Did that partially answers your question. Do you mind if I let him speak to the rest of it?
Well, before you let him speak, I got a question for you. I have a question on the ownership changing. Who authorized it? When did it take place? And why wasn't the city notified?
Great question. The answer to that is in that packet. It shows you the date of the resolution that shows the transfer of ownership shares of 200, 250, and 250 to myself, Charlie Brown, and Michael Powell. And the reason that it happened without any notification to anybody is because it was felt and needed to be expedited to ensure the continued continued operation of this company. It felt like it was a dire need. I do understand that it broke whatever rule it was in the AIPP, but I would rather be in the position we are today talking this out and figuring out the right way to go, which, by the way, FAM is the one that came forward to the city and told them there were issues in FAM.
Are you paying attention? You say that so lightly, like, we understand that happened. That was a severe breach of contract, but you say it like it's so lightly.
So you may look at it as taken lightly. I take it as it was a dire need. So how you feel about it and how I felt about it at the time, you might not understand or I can't convey to you how much I felt that it needed to happen. And it's not just me. Other shareholders in the company deemed it was important to happen quickly. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the position we are today to at least talk about where we go forward. So it was a feeling of needing to get it done and make it happen now. That's the answer.
Evening, Todd Zimmerman, Launch Strategies and Solutions, selected consultant by Florida Airport Management Group. Some of you I do recognize, obviously, from my times past serving as a consultant to the City of Avon Park as my former company, Amherst Consulting Company. That's in part how I got introduced, or folks at Florida Airport Management found me, names on plans and that sort of thing. So they've reached out to me, and of course the match, it made sense from my historical basis. To address part of your question, obviously, revenue generating projects are very, very important. They're hard to come by on airports, hangar leases and those sorts of things, fuel sales, etc. FBO services or whatever are an opportunity for any airport to make money. There's been a long-standing project that my company, actually Amherst Consulting Company, designed and bid out, and FDOT didn't have enough money for it. This is back in 2018-17 timeframe. We have still kept that project alive in some ways with the Water Management District. We've extended that permit a couple of different times to where it's still buildable without having to go back in and re-engineer that project. It's a matter of aligning the funding with FDOT, some of the issues that have already been spoken of. As far as FAA and applying for monies from the Federal Aviation Administration, they have a process by which you pre-apply for money. In other words, announce what your intentions are for the year ahead. We're in that cycle right now. Last year, that cycle came and went, but the FAA extended that. We worked with the FAA to extend that pre-application process and followed their instruction to FAM, of course, as their consultant. We then submitted pre-applications for the AWAS and Beacon, which are badly, sorely needed and have been for quite some time here at the airport. That was one project. It was a design and construction project, and then a planning project for a master plan update. We pre-applied for those projects. After that, a formal project application then is submitted. The Federal Register carries the calendar by which we need to follow for those two particular projects. We followed that. The FAA came back and said, we need an application, not from FAM. And again, this is the convoluted mess a little bit, and I don't mean to use that word lightly, that the sponsorship is or isn't city, is or isn't FAM. Casey addressed when those, what the status of that is today, even effective October 30th. So the FAA this is a new process for the FAA as well. So I don't want to point fingers in any which direction other than say it's complicated. And they view it as complicated. They asked us then to resubmit the applications, which we did through the city, not from FAM, but from the city then to the FAA. We did that as well. It took a month and a half then to come back and say, we still have some issues with these. We want to do these projects. We recognize these are valid projects, but we can't do them this fiscal year. So they have that on their radar, and it is certainly not to any lack of effort whatsoever that projects are not being applied for, and this airport is not trying to be improved under the city's leadership or FAM, the partnership they have with FAM.
Todd, before you walk away, are you aware of any grants that, if given the opportunity of 60 or 90 days, that FAM would be able to apply for and get, or is everything going to be much longer than that?
I think the FAA, from my understanding, the FAA is anxious to get some processes going according to some latest conversations. I think, Casey, you've had with Scott McGarry, the project manager represented about the FAA. They're willing to, I don't want to say open the floodgates, but they understand. They had a visit here within the past 60 days. Mm-hmm. They understand the dire need that the airport, the airport has some pavements that are in very, very tough shape. Mm-hmm. The AWAS and Beacon, these are aeronautical necessities, navigational aids. They wanted to, they asked us to submit those applications last year. They want those projects to happen this year. So, I don't know how much of the floodgates are going to open, but that's all from a business strategy standpoint. That's up to FAM and the city, of course, and then the dialogue between DOT and the city, and then FAA and FAM.
And you're not a shareholder of FAM or RONC, you're just a consultant?
No, sir.
To them.
Just a consultant.
Gotcha. Okay. Understood.
So are those projects, are the applications ready to submit now?
All we got to do is change some dates. They've been submitted twice. As pre-applications, that's the first announcement. We submitted the project applications twice. Once under the FAM, under FAM as sponsor, and then the city as sponsor. So we just need to repackage them, and they're on the shelf and ready to go.
I have a question for the for you guys, the administration. When you talk to FAM, you reach out to. What's that?
I just said I appreciate it.
When you guys talk to the FAA, do they give you the same demeanor as they're giving them?
Nick can answer for this, but as of right now, the sponsorship is still with the city. Mm-hmm. And the indication FAA gave to us last week was they wanted to wait and see how the city responded to all this.
So they're not necessarily saying that the floodgates are open and ready to give money away, are they?
Well,
they don't give you that impression.
This is a different group. There's two different groups. Mm-hmm. This is the compliance group we're talking to.
Okay.
The grant group is a different group, so we have not talked to them.
So I do have some more questions, if you don't mind. So, Mr. Roberts, how does FAM make its money?
Through rentals and fuel.
Okay, so then you're not really making any money then if you have no fuel theft, right? Alleged fuel theft, right?
Say that again. If we're not making money,
right? Are you making any money if you have if you're having problems with fuel and?
So that was early on.
Okay.
Right now, I can tell you I've already done a P&L and a balance sheet for the month of October, and we made money in the month of October.
Okay, so explain to me how your companies are structured all the way down from the Rossi Group to whoever else you have out there at the airport.
So Rossi Group is the holding company that holds all subsidiaries. Mm-hmm. FAM was then created to do the lease with the airport. Under FAM, we had to create another company to be able to meet the AIPP requirements because we want to be able to do this at other rural airports. Again, I go back to AHM, which is also a subsidiary. So Rossi Group, FAM KAVO underneath it. Branching out under Rossi is AHM, TBF, the Biofoundry, and American Hemp Manufacturing.
So they're all under the Rossi Group, basically.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, where did the seed money come from?
So you have the cap table there. Mm-hmm. That is all our investors.
And do you have silent investors also?
No, everybody you see on there are the investors.
Okay. And what's the status of the security deposit money?
So that has been provided. The information has been provided to Low Clary. We're doing our best to make sure that that is brought up to date.
Okay. So whenever Michael Powell came into the picture of this, did anybody vet him as to his past dealings with other airports?
That question is going to have to be for Lowell Clary.
Mr. Clary, did you? I don't want to say lease or paperwork. I want to know if you vetted him.
We did look at his background. He did resign from his prior position. There were some allegations. Those were investigated. And they were essentially, the key issue was there was a grant with FAA that they did not timely file for reimbursement. So that was not able to be reimbursed to the airport. Michael Powell took responsibility for that and subsequently resigned.
Okay, so how did he get to the Rossi Group?
So we had actually gone to Tyco, which is where he was working at the time, to be able to talk to him about what we could do at other airports.
Okay.
We'd actually gone to DeLand before this. Again, American Hem Manufacturing, we wanted to be able to bring this amazing plant to rural communities. So when we went to Tyco, started talking with him, finding out what he was looking for. It went from that to, hey, we got this project going on with Florida Airport Management. We were still in communication with him. He said, I am now available. He's got years and years of experience, something that the city was looking for specifically when it came to an airport, because before we showed up, there was a city employee that sat out there. And that was the only person you had out there that was doing any type of work. So we thought with his credentials, his background of being able to go after grants, his ability to know JSIP and be able to work in the Delphi system, and honestly his years and years of experience. If you were to look at his home office, he has certificates everywhere on his wall. He has done everything needed to be at the top of his game.
Okay. And so how did JT Clark and Charlie Brown fit into this whole thing? How were they approached?
So JT Clark, Nicole Roberts, and myself were the original founders of American Hemp Manufacturing. And as a matter of fact, even before that, we started what was called REG Securities, because we wanted to do real estate.
So you guys were friends.
I had met him through a construction deal on one of the homes that I was rehabbing. And during that process, we were like-minded in what we were wanting to do. I'm good with numbers. I'm good with paperwork. I can remember things pretty well. JT is really, really good at going after money. Let's put it that way.
So you guys are really close then.
Really close, but we work together.
Close. So then I rewind to the statement that you said you didn't have any idea what was going on. But if you guys were very close, did he not confide in you as a partner?
So we had grown apart. That was part of the reason why I went away, is we had grown apart.
Okay. So JT didn't have any experience in airport management then?
I can't answer that because I don't know his background when it came to it. I can tell you that when we were going after, or at least contemplating coming here and going through the management contract, you'll see that I was on some of those meetings via video. And I was doing that from where I was stationed at the time. And I was the one that had the aviation background when we started discussing things to move forward. During that process is when Michael Powell became available.
Okay. So then, I'd like to know, in the 3 years, what FAM has accomplished.
Every lease agreement completed, full tenancy, updated rents. By the way, you guys hadn't increased your rents in over 10 years. We increased them to current market value.
Did you give the tenants notice on that?
We did. We did. They didn't like it. As a matter of fact, that was part of some of the comments and complaints. But that's because it hadn't increased in over 10 years. The city hadn't done anything about it. So we brought them up to date. Grass is now mowed continuously on a constant basis.
Wait, what? Grass?
The grass is mowed on a constant basis. It wasn't before. That's a big deal considering, do you guys know what's out at that airport when it comes to wildlife? You guys have tortoises. We're not allowed to move them or touch them without getting the approval of the state. They're actually protected. So keeping the grass mowed, making sure everything is clean and clear actually helps them traverse the terrain. It makes it so that the airport has a clean appearance. There's multiple benefits. As a matter of fact, If we don't mow in certain spots at certain times, local residents that are around the airport sometimes complain, because then that means that other wildlife increases, meaning the snakes and everything else that can come out there. So keeping it clean, tidy looking, making sure that the runways are clear constantly. We're out there spraying for weeds constantly around the hangars. We're doing what normal management, specifically real estate management, would do to
Okay.
ensure a tidy place.
And has FAM Cabo received any grants on their own?
Never.
No.
This was going to be the first one, and
In
it
the
got
3
shut down,
years
but it
you've been there?
required us to be the sponsor. FAM has never been the sponsor. This program is new, AIPP. So nobody has received grants under this except for other AIPP applicants, private entities, and public entities.
Okay. So, Mr. Clary, you said that even though they have a lease, they don't have a sponsor yet. Is that all right? I want to understand that.
Well, the sponsor, FAA designates a sponsor for each airport.
Okay.
So since the start of this airport owned by the city, you have been the sponsor.
Okay.
So FAA was expecting some comment responses from Florida DOT, so they held it up for that process and going through that, and it was not really clarified until the legislation was changed. So once that legislation was changed, DOT provided input to FAA, and it was a little confusing, so FAA held the sponsorship pending that resolution.
Okay.
So we think that's a little clearer now. Casey, you can respond more directly than I can on that. But as we talked about earlier, FAA would designate FAM as the sponsor after, if you continue forward, and the city would be FDOT's grantee, and FAM would be FA's grantee.
Okay.
Ms. Law, I have a question. Michael Powell, was there any other repercussion other than his resignation?
You mean JT?
You mean
No,
JT?
Michael
Your
Powell.
question?
Michael Powell.
Yes,
You said that he resigned.
yes, he resigned his previous
Jonathan
as
Clark,
his
not Michael
previous
Powell.
public
I'm sorry?
position.
I'm so sorry, ma'am. Jonathan Clark, not Michael Powell. Michael Powell is the airport manager, and he is still
Jonathan
out
Clark.
there.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
Did was there any other repercussions other than his resignation? Was there anything else done?
As far as repercussion, I mean, essentially right now, the parent company does not have a CEO. That position's vacant. So it really would fall to any other officers and the voting members to make decisions about their organization and FAM KVO.
Okay. And for you, did JT, was he forced out or he stepped down due to the best for the company?
Step down to the best of the company. So I know you're asking, what further has happened.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not.
Never mind.
So, are you guys still getting FEMA money for staging?
I have not seen anything towards that end at this point. And to be honest with you, we do have agreements with FEMA, but I have not addressed those directly yet because I feel the airport is the priority right now. Financials is a priority. Meeting our AIPP obligations are the priority. Answering your questions and making sure the city is still comfortable with FAM is my priority. Nothing has changed as far as FAM is concerned with FEMA, but there's been no further discussion.
And my last question is this.
Yes, ma'am.
Since June, July, this council has been getting information about what's going on out at the airport. And at one point, there was the October, November rent payments, okay? Just the company performance in itself. Overdue reports, financial documents, tenant security deposit, payment records, ownership changes, active investigation, no cameras, sponsor certificate checklist, transferring funds from a security account to the operating account. Spreadsheet has questionable expenses charged to the airport operating account. grant requirement not being met. It just go on and on. And so it makes me wonder, is there a lot more that I don't know? I can't speak for the rest of the council. So with all of this, who's going to step up and take responsibility from here on out?
That's why I'm here, ma'am.
That's you. That's your job.
I'm trying to let you know that with Michael Powell as the CEO of Florida Airport Management, with the operations management, which, by the way, I wanted to address that Umberto Moreno, which runs the flight academy out there, which is also something new that FAM brought in. We now have aircraft out there that are there for training. We did bring in Blue Air as well. That's part of us increasing our fuel revenue. I understand that you listed a bunch of those things, and I do not take them lightly, which is exactly why I did come back in as an original founder of these companies, because I do care immensely that they succeed. So much so, and I'll lay it out. You'll see there per the cap table, there's a certain amount of shares that we have. I have put in $120,000 into this company to see it succeed myself, not just all of my time since 2019. I care immensely that this succeeds. Immensely. I was not here for those 2 years for everything you just mentioned, but I am here to try to fix every one of those things that you mentioned.
So what is, I know Charlie Brown used to be the one that kind of ran everything out there. So what is his role in all of this stuff now?
He's filling that second key position of operations director.
So is he still out at the airport every day, or?
He hasn't been recently, just because Umberto Moreno and his crew have kind of been taking care of things out there. We're still internally discussing what's going to happen with personnel.
Okay. And then do you feel that you have the ability, because the grants, obviously you can't control all of that. None of us can, unfortunately, and that's why I think it's kind of thrown a big cog in the wheel up until this point. But do you feel like you will be able to sustain operations if those grants do not come through in a short time period? Do you have other funding sources that you can utilize?
Yes.
So that we feel safe and secure as far as things that there's things that have to get done regardless of if we get a grant or not.
Yes.
So do we have a means to get there?
We do have a means to get there. It all rests on your guys' shoulders on where we move next with the options that Lowell provided. As soon as you guys decide on whatever option it is, decides what our action is going to be or what road we're going to take. I can tell you, if you guys make it so where FAM is still doing what it wants to do, which is still abide by the AIPP, manage the airport like it's supposed to, we have other ways of getting funds to make sure that we can keep this moving forward.
Okay, and then a couple questions for Lowell. Is it possible for us to institute our own additional security or financial oversight as far as like this, you know, if we give them that additional 75 days or whatever it is, or 60 days, whatever, do we have the ability, if we feel like we need somebody out there for security, or we need to hire our own CPA to monitor the books, do we have that ability, and could we charge that against the bond, or could we charge FAM those charges? Or
let me put it in buckets.
Okay.
Bucket number one, security and operating the airport. If you continue with FAM, that will be their responsibility. Can you provide additional oversight due to the breach? You can put in the breach request things that you want to see. If you want to have additional oversight, that could be part of it. There's no question about that. On the financial side, I think it's, if FAM is going to do their own review of the records, that's great. But the city's going to need to go through that and be sure that you're comfortable with what you're getting provides all the facts. So it's going to take a second level of review from your side, and I would definitely claim that under the bond.
And who would be paying for that? Forensic accountant?
I think you need to claim that under the bond.
So if we claim on the bond, and I guess this is a question to both of you, how do we get by that if they you're asking for them to waive the issue of breach, but there's still the issue of bond that's still out there. We're going to call the bond, okay, or at least we're going to announce that we have some issues that have to be resolved on the bond, and so it may be that you don't get a bond after that, even after you get your audit. How do we resolve that?
So I hear what you're saying loud and clear. The first bond was acquired by personal assets because FAMCAVO had no assets. FAMCAVO now has assets. We have income. We have P&Ls. We have that stuff. I again go back to I don't know how clear they are. That's why I have an accountant going through them to make sure that they're the best they can be. I wanted to, by Wednesday, have those, turn them over to Paul Hagan over at IOA, and see if we can still get the bond renewed without having to wait any 30 days. Obviously, you guys can give them whatever notification you want, but it's different now because the bond is going to be attached to FAMCAVO and what we have been able to receive in funds. And they're going to be able to see from our P&L and balance sheet the increase of starting in January till now, how much more fuel we sell, how we have increased the rentals out there, which, by the way, I got notification from Melody that it's going to increase for our end per CPI, which always increases, down the line. So obviously, if it comes, we're allowed to, per the AIPP, increase the rental rates per CPI. Anything over that has to be approved through the city.
So you think that they will issue it because you're going to have a better financial position, but you can't promise that, really.
You're absolutely right. I can't promise that.
So we're really in the same place we were before. That's what a bond is. It's really basically to replace your promise. And so you can't make a promise, and we can't be sure we're going to have a bond. How do we get past that?
So give them notice, like you were discussing. Give me some time to be able to work that out. I just got done saying the accountant is supposed to have that information to us by Wednesday, if not Thursday at the latest. I want to be able to give that information to Paul Hagan. Give us the opportunity is all I'm saying. It doesn't have to be long. You already discussed giving them notice as an option. You can still do that. That still protects you guys as you're needing, but give us the opportunity to still meet that requirement.
So,
because we're not past it yet.
In order to have an adequate bond after the fact, is there some principal there that's willing to put up the cash as maybe a letter of credit or something else if no bond is capable, or some kind of a deposit that we can ensure is not going to be taken out, like other deposits have been used?
I understand. Potentially. The issue is where you're asking for that promise on this side. We're looking from the promise from the city side. And I know that you can't give it. You guys are going to have to make a decision on where you're going to be, option 1, 2, or 3. If you guys decide to pull the lease, the bond is not going to be the issue at that point.
Well, I understand that because my presumption was in the beginning of the question, and I don't know what's going to happen, that you're asking them to waive the breach. I don't know that they are. They may not. But, if so, I mean, how do you get past that, even if that's if you want them to waive that? I just don't see how you're going to do that without somebody putting up the money for a new bond or promising to put up the money for a new bond, before that expiration.
I understand.
It's something we'd have to seriously take into consideration. Otherwise, we go without a performance bond. And how do we know that you guys are not pie in the sky just like the previous FAM was, FAM 1?
So Mr. Clary already discussed it, and I'm going to tell you right now. We want to be an open and honest book with the city. You're going to have a special meeting once a week for us to come in here and have a discussion about where we were for the last month, or have it monthly, weekly, whatever the city needs to feel comfortable. At this point, we know that we are going to have to change a lot of what we were doing. Part of that might be making sure we come to the board in a special meeting, a closed session, whatever you guys want to do that makes you guys feel comfortable with where we've gone to.
We can't have closed session. We can't. And not unless somebody files suit. that's the requirement. But all right, my second question is, because we're going to have to talk about that in depth with Nick and Lowell, find out what's going on, but how we get some security in that regard. But the second question I have is more administrative. You were talking about the confidentiality of documents. Okay, you guys determine what documents of yours are confidential under trade secrets. Okay, or whatever statute. But you make that claim. We have to enforce it unless you release us from that enforcement. and in which case you indemnify us if we get sued and the court decides that you're wrong and their documents should have been given up, then you'll have to pay for their attorney's fees and our attorney's fees and everything else. You guys understand that, right? Because that is part of the lease. This packet that you handed us, is this clearly confidential, not for us to release? You're telling us not to release it, or can it be released?
So I prefer it not released. Exceptions are, you'll see again, emails in there. I have labeled confidential because part of the email is internal and the third part of the email is external with, individuals from the city. Obviously, with your guys' FOIA and Sunshine Law, you were able to provide that type of information. So we're asking that whatever is in internal Rossi, FAM, you name it, stays confidential, all documentation.
You need just make that perfectly clear to the clerk because we're going to get requests, I'm quite certain.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm positive.
Jerry, I think we need to go back and look at the lease though, because unless their document is protected like a normal document under, the statutes, I think the rest of it's going to be public.
Well, no, absolutely, and that's the point I'm making is they have to either hire an attorney or get somebody to review that. That's not for us to do. They do that, and they say, "Do not release this. We are standing behind this as being confidential." If it goes to court and the court says it's clearly a statute that allows that, then they're going to be paying a lot of money and for attorney's fees and so on. And we'll have another problem with them because that'll be an issue that, obviously you're required to provide records that are not confidential in here, and in which case you would not have done that.
Right.
Another breach.
That's why I kind of mentioned closed door, and I understand you said, open. Under the record,
the Sunshine Law does not let us have a closed session except under very limited circumstances. This would not be one of them.
Understood. So under the record of decision per the FAA, they specifically state that they are more than willing to, if there's information that we feel is confidential, they will come in and be able to look at our records with us confidentially without having to do anything outside. So I was looking for the same type of doing it the same way with the city. Let's put it that way.
Well, if we
And
get a
we can
request,
discuss that.
they're going to make it. You're going to need to make it very clear to them and on the record as to what you're going to claim confidentiality for. Okay.
Understood.
All right, I have some more questions. So I know that we had an airport advisory board at one time, correct?
You want a CRA advisory board?
Well, it was an airport advisory board.
I think that was.
Was it CRA?
Yeah. Just.
And it was dissolved?
Well, it's part of the overall CRA now. We used to have three boards when I got here. I informed them that they weren't allowed to have 3 CRAs. You're only allowed to have 1.
And so that was the one that was dissolved when Julian DeLeon was here?
Yeah.
Yeah? One of them?
But
Okay.
there's advisory boards now.
So is that something that maybe this council should do, is bring back one of the advisory boards for the operations that go on out there? Is that a thing?
I mean, you could, but here's number one: they're not going to let them look at confidential stuff, which is going to be an issue. And then you have to have people that are experts at airport, and I don't think they're going to want to do that for free.
Okay.
Unless they've got a plane out there or something, they have some other axe to grind.
So I wanted to ask you about the problems, and you don't have to explain. I just want to know yes or no. Does your fuel truck work?
Yes.
Is it fully operational or it just kind of works?
It's fully operational. It's leased through AEG. I know you wanted yes or no, but
That's fine. The gas pumps, do they work?
they do.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay. How long have they worked? Have they worked the whole entire time you've been there?
I haven't known them to not work.
Okay. The gates are inoperable? All of them or just some of them?
Operable, inoperable,
Inoperable.
both. They're both. So it's like I stated, I've seen them work when I was there with key fobs. It's only recently been brought up that maybe they weren't working at all. I haven't heard anything contrary.
So during the daytime, explain how the gates work, because I know that one of the gates over on Bell Street stays open all day long.
Is that the
Correct.
one that allows Public Works to come in through there?
Yes.
That's why.
Okay,
Public
but-
Works and
But shouldn't the city maybe have their own set of key fobs that shut and open the gate throughout the day when they go back and forth?
I think they do.
but
I'm
it's
sorry.
always open.
Can I?
If you want to make comments, you'll have to make
Yeah.
them in the microphone.
I'm going to
there.
let Humberto Moreno address this because he's got years of experience of managing airports. He's able to address these issues. His crew, I stated, are the ones that are out there helping maintain a lot of this. He'll be able to answer a lot of those questions.
If you will, sir, just give your name and organization for the record.
How you doing, Umberto with Flight Academy? I understand that the gates cannot be closed. Okay, the reason for that is if we close the gates, all right, on Bell Street, your people cannot go in there. We closed them. We had an incident 2 months ago, a robbery on the Renfro's aviation hangar. Okay, I took it to myself, went to Ace, got some locks and locked it up, all 3 gates. But you can't lock all 3 gates. You got to have one gate open because if we lock it, nobody who lands can come out, and nobody who's a tenant cannot go in. So you have to leave it open. Okay. I've been there 3 years. Those 3 years, none of those gates work. Never seen a keypad. Never seen none of that.
So how about the gates in the front on 64?
I lock one gate.
You
The other
locked
one, you got to have it open because if somebody comes in who's a tenant, how's he going to get in? If somebody lands, how's he going to get out?
I guess the answer is we're looking for them to be fixed so they're
Yeah.
automatic.
Yeah, I wish it were fixed. You know.
Isn't there one more gate too, a little farther down?
Yeah,
Or
that one.
west?
That that's for where the 2-flight building is at right now. That one doesn't work either.
So it seems to me like the new technology, the gates that will lock and you can allow people through that have the proper fob or a sending unit, and that'll actually register who that is because they'll have
Yeah, that's correct.
their own. So
Yes.
you'll know who's there and how long they're there
Well,
and so on.
The way to get it fixed is give each person a keypad. It's like a real small pad that could either put a code or use that to go in. And then 5 minutes later, gate closed right behind them.
No, so you wouldn't be putting a keypad that's fixed. You have a keypad on your own.
It would be both.
Okay, so that would record though the
That's
person's
correct.
individual number.
That's correct.
So the gates they don't work and they're always open.
Well, one.
One is always
You
open.
have to.
Right.
If you cannot lock the whole airport. You can't.
Okay. Do you
The real
have?
question is whose responsibility is it to get those fixed to a standard where you don't have to manually open and close them? Right.
I don't know.
That's the real question we're looking for.
You know, like I said, I mean, I've been there 3 years, and 3 years they haven't been fixed. You know, they were there before they took over. I understand you guys' frustration, Miss Taylor. I understand you, but you
That's
know,
exactly why we listened to FAM when they made the argument that was hey, this is what we do.
yeah.
Okay, we fix these things. But
Okay, I
so
I
much.
understand you, but you got to understand one point. This gentleman, it's only taking 35 days. You know, he's trying to fix something in 35 days. You know, somebody gives you something in 35 days, you can't fix it in 35 days. We just took it over. You know, we doing the best we can right now. You know, I'm trying to be as calm as possible, but in 35 days you can't do much. He just got that a week after he came in. From them, we need this, this, and this.
Yeah, I understand your argument, but our argument is it's their relationship that's screwed up, not ours.
Yeah.
And so in 35 days, yeah, okay, well that's because their relationship is screwed up.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so you guys said, well, why do you take stuff out? As far as cameras were working. But September, when you gave them the airport, a gentleman came in and took off the equipment. The equipment used to work with the internet from here, from the city. Because I called Comcast, I needed internet for my office. okay, for my guys to use for my planes and back and forth. I was using. They said no, you can't use it because you're using the one from the city.
Hold on. I got a question. I want to ask you before it leaves, either one of you. So we were giving you internet.
The internet
we were
was the
supplying
cities.
you with internet.
It was the cities.
Right.
It's a line that goes straight to here. I don't know how they
So
did
why
it.
didn't you as a business get your own internet?
I did.
Okay.
I did. That's
So
when I
who's using
found
the
out that
cities?
I had to go through the whole thing. It's not easy getting internet over there. I installed the internet a long time ago. Get it to the pole, cross it over. No. Comcast said that it was a $40,000 project for them to do. You had to come all the way down Main Street and 27 and run the lines down.
Sir, Starlink will come out and actually
We had
send you
Starlink.
stuff,
Didn't
and
work.
it didn't work. How did it not work?
It didn't work. If it was cloudy or whatever the case is, gone. Airport needs 24/7.
Do you
I need to know.
Do you have personnel there 24/7?
No, but I got airplanes on the thing 24/7.
Right. So if you don't have the security of the fences and you don't have security of the cameras, I would think the next big thing would be to get a person to be there 24 hours.
We
Not
had a guy.
necessarily one person.
We had a guy work. I have my guy Omar Rodriguez who slept there for 3 years in the airport in the sofa
And
for
where was
3
he now?
years.
Where is he now?
Back home.
So you don't have security
No.
24/7.
Nobody paid him. We worked there for 3 years.
Who was supposed to pay him?
No. We did it out of our heart because we wanted the airport to grow. Okay? That's why we did it. All right?
That's all I got.
Lowell, is there any clarification as to whose responsibility it is for the gates to be working automatically?
The current lease, that responsibility is FAM, KVO's. So the question would be, from your perspective, should they take action to do that? And what's their response?
Sure. Well, obviously, manually opening and closing the gates is not tenable long term. It needs to be fixed. So, do you have a plan that you are already going to institute to fix these gates, or are you waiting for the city to institute something?
So earlier I stated fixing the gate is going to cost $1,700. But that still doesn't fix the holes in the fence. People can still get onto that airport regardless of the gates.
100%.
We want to fix those, even if it has to come out of our own pocket because the AIPP allows it for rent credits. We have been looking at that as an option, okay? But per the AIPP, we also have 2 years. They identified it before we got a hold of it. They identified it during it, and we're still in the same position, which, by the way, I wanted to point out in that documentation of the AIPP, it stated that there were CRA funds of $250,000 to be able to do this type of work. $1,700 per gate from the CRA fund could have happened a while ago. I don't know if that's the case. I have not seen what the current fund looks like, but I do know it was part of the record of decision per the FAA that there was $250,000 in CRA funds to be able to do something as simple as fixing the gates, and it never got done. So I understand it is our responsibility per the IPP. As a matter of fact, it lists that security is our number one priority and then goes down to number 2 and number 3 of what our next priorities are, which includes doing the upgrades at the airport. The reason we got brought in is because we want to improve the airport. We want to put more buildings. We want to bring in more tenants. We want to be able to do the agricultural business out there. That is literally what we are trying to get done. So again, my point to this was we are partners. In the Airport Improvement Partnership Program, we are supposed to be working together to get this done. I understand FAM hasn't met certain obligations month after month, starting since November, of doing reporting. I hear you loud and clear, ma'am. I understand 100%. I was not around for it, but I am here now, and I am trying to take the responsibility of pushing this forward to make sure these things do not get left behind, that you do get the reports monthly. There was one more thing I wanted to address. You brought up, ma'am, the payments, the 7245 lease payments that were late for the last 3 months. I do want to take responsibility for that because the second I realized what was going on, part of it was taking control of the accounts. And Jonathan Clark and I went down to Wells Fargo and Sebring so that we had a local bank to be able to do business in this city and be able to have access to these funds immediately. That meant cutting off the ACH to the account that you guys were normally getting that money through. We have not missed a payment. It was late, but it was not missed. So we have made our monthly payments. I do apologize. That is my fault that ACH was cut off. But again, I go back to I needed to have full 100% control and integrity to make sure that all the bills were being paid correctly and that it was late because of me. So I'll take that responsibility.
Mr. Roberts, you stated that you thought that the CRA funds for the airport would fix the fence.
I stated they could have been used.
They could have been. And how long did you know that?
Not 100% of the fence. I
Right.
just learned that in reading the record of decision since I've been here, as Umberto Moreno identified, 35 days. It's been a little bit more than that, but getting back into the swing of things, going through all the bank accounts, making sure, finding out what documents we have, where we at today, what is it we're missing, what things are we supposed to be going to, which the MOU, the demand letter, and the third demand letter made it abundantly clear what the city was looking for and where we were deficient. I have taken it upon myself to try to make sure that we start meeting those obligations. But financials to me is the number one priority. No business can succeed without their financials being clean and clear and being able to move forward.
Ms. Carlson, do we have airport CRA funds available? Just yell at me. We can repeat it in the microphones up here. There we go.
So from what I'm seeing here, there was 14,000 in demolitions, 100,000 for signage out there, and 129 for special projects. 50 was allocated to airport, 30 for Classic Palladium, and 50 to Durham Martin.
Okay, so the 50 that's allocated to airport, is that already earmarked with certain projects already, or?
No, we had discussed demolition, and at the time they had talked about enhancing the gateway there to make it more a beautification project going into the airport during our workshop in July.
So if they wanted to apply for a CRA grant, could they do so?
Absolutely. There's already 50,000 there to use out of the airport.
So apply for a CRA grant, please.
Yes, sir. I want to add to what she just stated when it comes to those CRA funds and airport funding when it comes to that. We're in a special and unique position under the AIPP, and really you guys just in general when it comes to airports. You have your public works out there. You have a lease with Classic Palladium. You have baseball fields.
Right.
All these things are not necessarily airport related. So when you guys release funds to those things and don't provide it to the actual, their actual airport, they're on airport property. But when it comes to these types of things, this is part of what we wanted to see was a lot more money coming towards.
Obviously, the most immediate need from the CRA perspective is the gates.
Yes, sir.
So
Well,
specifically, without adding a bunch of other things to it, if you could work on just the gates as one unit, that would be great.
Yeah, can I, on that note, can I also identify the holes that are in the fence, just the few that they haven't applied, be able to apply it for that as well? They're not numerous, but there's enough.
Sure. I guess the question I would have is, if we're going to spend $50,000 or whatever it is on the gate that's going to be replaced later on when you have an electronic fence, and it's going to have all those does that just be thrown away money?
Sure, it was $1,700 per gate, and there's 3 gates.
Right. There's actually
even without the
there's
holes,
a couple there. Yes, I got it.
The accessibility keeps out. I mean, the gates keep out 99% of people. If somebody wants to go through a fence, they could cut a fence, jump a fence, run through the fence, do whatever the heck they want to do.
3 gates, yes, and it wouldn't negate it, sir. We would just not apply it to the fence project. Those gates just wouldn't be touched in that project. We would allocate those funds to make sure. I mean, it's going to cost a lot, or it has already costed quite a bit. I wanted to know from Melody how much was put in or taken from that grant funding already. I saw 2 invoices, and they were quite hefty of funds that were already used just for planning for the fence. So, I mean, there's already been a ton of that done, bunch of money put towards it, and we still don't have a fence. So you talk about funds that have gone nowhere. You got 2 invoices that already were, excessive as far as
That wasn't through the CRA though. That was through an FAA.
I understand.
I have a question for Jessica. Those CRA funds are not going to be available until after the first of the year, according to the new plan. Is that correct? We're taking applications now through January, and then after that, we will pick and choose what funds go where, or can those funds be granted immediately, if possible, from the airport? Okay. All right, and I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Roberts, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any shareholders now, or any members of FAM or Ross, anybody that's working at another airport trying to do a similar project and have walked away from this project?
So you're talking about a few gentlemen that did decide to push forward with other objectives. It's not the same as what we're doing here. And they are still shareholders. And by the way, they're talking about right now bringing some of the things that they're doing at other airports, which nothing is in stone. This is all still just presentation. Talking about bringing those projects to our airport, excuse me, by our, I mean the cities and FAMs right now. Bringing those projects to the airport to be able to increase the revenues even more and do exactly what we plan to do under the AIPP. So they have gone out separately because they're not doing AIPP project. They're not doing what we've already done. No.
All right. And then the last question: are you going to be the voice of FAM at the airport, Avon Park, in the future?
For the current interim, you heard Mr. Little Clary discuss already. There is not a CEO at Rossi, but Michael Powell is still the CEO. So I still direct a lot of things towards him when it comes to airport compliance, SOPs, things like that. When it comes to actual running of the airport, Michael Powell is the end all be all. But when it comes to the overall finances, where we're trying to go with our companies, things like that, I am the interim. I provided in there the articles of incorporation for the Rossi Group just to show you that JT Clark was the president when we created it, and Nicole Roberts was the vice president. So she is still the vice president. She's one of the ones that's still helping direct the company along with myself.
Thank you.
Is
Mr. Mayor?
Todd Zimmerman not the interim CEO per JT's email?
So he originally was. He decided to step down just because possible conflict with him being the consultant. You have to ask him exactly why he wanted to step down, other than he's just got a lot of obligations. I think dealing with the same thing that I see with where we're at, he kind of just wanted to be a consultant and do what I need to do to help FAM succeed, but not necessarily be the CEO of Rossi and the entire company.
Okay.
I'm assuming we have online questions that we.
There's a couple in.
Okay. You want to go ahead and read?
Was supposed to be installed and allow the Bell Street water treatment plant to be outside of the airport eliminated. It's preferable to separate it.
Sure.
Oh, that was part of the original plan for the fence being redone, was it not?
I know there's a layout per Kimley Horn that shows where that fencing project is supposed to go, and they talked about doing it in sections. I believe it was supposed to be cut out, but I'll get back to you on that. I did see the picture, but I didn't specifically identify, is this inside or outside? I just recognized what the project was and where they were trying to do their sections.
It is outside.
It is outside.
It is outside the fence.
Okay. Is there another question? Okay. All right. So we need to get to a decision here of what we're going to do tonight.
Can I just ask one more question,
You
please?
sure can.
So you commented that it would cost $1,700 to build or to redo the fence, not
Just
the
the
holes,
gates.
just the gates.
Just the gates. And that's each.
Does FAM not have $1,700 that they could repair a fence?
I just said that that's what we were talking about, was doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
But I needed to get our finances under control. October's been the first month that I did personally to make sure that our P&Ls and everything was good. So I wanted to make sure what our funding looks like versus what our liabilities are and profit. I needed to know first before we started putting money towards things that is very important. Don't get me wrong, but we're going through a process right now. So yes, it was discussed.
Okay.
But knowing that there was CRA funding of $250,000 during the record of decision, I wanted to make sure I addressed that first and see where we were with CRA funds. So I appreciate you asking that question, sir.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Can I just, one more thing? That $1,700 was a quote. I don't know if that quote's still good. It could have gone up to 2,000. I'm just letting you know that was us figuring out, are we going to pay it ourselves? What's it going to cost?
Did you
So,
quote for a new camera system too?
we didn't, but we can, ma'am.
That would probably be a good idea.
In order to have a
Yes, ma'am.
successful CRA grant application, you'll need at least 2 quotes.
Understood.
So, but I would certainly advise you to get with Ms. Carlson and see what all the parameters are so you can do it correct the first time.
And can I state something else for the record? The 250 was the total funds that we have in the airport boundaries. It's not just the airport. It's everything that encompasses that entire area. So that's how the budget was broke down, not just for the airport.
So you're saying the 250,000 CRA funds that the FAA specifically described was for the entire airport, and by that you mean including the water, the baseball field, classic Palladium? Is that what I'm trying to
I think we're
understand.
talking about 2 different buckets of money here. This is CRA funding. I don't know anything about FFA or FAA funding.
The FAA specifically in the record of decision mentions there was $250,000
Yeah.
in the CRA fund.
The answer is yes, it's for the entire area.
Yeah.
Just how you have a Main Street CRA actually is not just Main Street, it's
Right, and I understand
wide.
that. It's going back to literally what she just stated was there's 50,000 for this, but then we've got money for these things already allocated.
She's referring to how much we allocated in the budget.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, the
Understood.
CRA budget.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so we got a couple of options here. Obviously, there can be variations of both or none or added to. The biggest things is that we have to make sure that this situation that's led us here today does not happen again. So if we were to go with option 2 to give them more time to get those financials to us and make improvements, what would the additional checks and measures look like in your opinion? How can we make sure that we are monitoring things financially?
I think we would have to have somebody from the outside come in and make sure that they're doing what they say they're going to do. Because if they're in the mess that they say they are, we're going to have to go back from the very beginning and go forward.
Okay.
And that could take months.
That's something that would be pulled from the bond, I would think, right?
I didn't hear you.
The performance bond, is that something that would be addressed on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, whatever cost the city incurs there, you can claim as part of the bond. Because it's part of identifying what the claims would be. So,
What kind of security are we going to have after this, given that they can't promise we're going to have a performance bond?
I was mentioning to Melody, if they cannot come up with a performance bond, you could allow an in-kind letter of credit to the benefit of the city.
Well, that's what I suggested was a letter of credit, yep.
Right. So that would be one option, is you would have to have someone put up a letter of credit essentially in that amount to the benefit of the city. So
That's the only thing I can think of that would operate like a performance bond.
correct. That's right. That would be another option. The other thing I would suggest is you might want to have, and this is something our internal group talked about, is having someone like Kimley Horn or someone come in and kind of do some back checks periodically, like maybe couple times during this time period, just to make sure they're moving forward on these things you want to move forward on.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
For 3 years, they've been out there. And I get it, the group has changed. I get it. Some of them has stayed and new has come on. I don't understand why would we, not that we are, but I heard what Melanie said. Why would we pay someone to come out and monitor them and they couldn't even do what we asked them to do? So now we're going to pay money for somebody to monitor them.
The money would be paid from the performance bond, not out of the
Which they put up.
Which they put up.
right.
Okay.
182,000.
And we're saying that we're not going to be satisfied with extending the time unless we have some type of additional after that bond protection in form of a similar type of form.
And if we talking about extending the time, what kind of time we talking about?
Yeah, suggestions? I mean,
Well, here's my.
we've been told that basically, one was somewhere around 2 months was kind of the minimum to get everything in order on their part. Does that seem?
It is. I had put in the slide 75 days just to
Okay.
give some extra time because Casey had indicated it'd take them 2 months to get audited financials.
Sure.
And you always want to have a little bit of leeway. You could do 75 or 90 days max.
Yeah. So that's what they're talking about, Bernice.
Oh, we still need to give them a notice, correct?
That's a whole.
What-
I mean,
what
I
was your
think that's a
question?
given. That's going to
Okay.
happen.
What was your question?
Still have to give them a 30-day notice today.
Notify the bond company.
Oh. Okay. You want our suggestion? I only got one opinion up here, and it's mine. Personally, I think that they have violated. They have violated too many. It was too many violation on the contract or the lease agreement. It was just too many, and it just kept going on and on. And I don't want nobody to think that I know that this is a whole different group. Well, he said some of us, some of them is new. I just think that this is me now. This is a different group of people coming before us, trying to sell us another bill of goods. Okay, and for years we watched FAM go back and back. I remember Jim said, when are we going to get through this? And Jerry, you need to get on them, and it's going too long. We went through all of that to get this, and now we're willing to do it again.
It's not
Different
quite the same
group,
thing, but-
different group. I just think that me personally, I think we should cut our losses, and we should back out of this. You asked, here it is.
Sure. So what that does, though, is it then brings up the issue of everything that's done out there as far as the management of the airport would then have to be done, right? So it has to be done either by city staff or by an outside company. So that's really the next step there is figuring out how that would need to be done, and do we want to, monitor this while looking at what those plans would look like, and that way we can find a good solution, or if we just say, hey, you know what, fam, we don't like this, we're done, and we say you're gone, then that immediately triggers us having to put staff out there or find an outside company to take over those tasks.
And we used to have stuff out there at one point.
Well, we've not managed the airport well in decades, and that is one reason that had led us to the position that we were even looking for someone like FAM. So you see, this didn't just happen. If the airport would have been managed wonderfully and everything was happening great out there, why on earth would the city have ever even considered an outside company coming in?
Right. I get that. We wasn't managing it well. I mean, I get that. We talking
Right, it was
city
losing
employees.
money every year. It wasn't managed very well. People weren't generally happy
And now
with it.
we bring
et cetera.
somebody else in, and it's still not.
It's
being
worse.
managed well.
Yep.
It's worse than when the city was
Sure.
running it.
So we put out an RFQ or RFP for FBO. Again, just like we've had before. I mean, at what point are we going to say, okay, you know what, enough's enough. We got to stop the bleeding and let's
Sure.
go from there.
It's just before you make that decision, we should know financially what all it's going to cost and what exactly we're getting into and what a realistic plan for success is long term. That's my whole thing, is that we need to know what the long term plan is before you just make a decision like that.
So what are we going to lose then?
Are you serious?
Very.
What are we going to lose?
Yeah, how much are we going to lose? I mean, they don't have the money to pay us.
Well, that's what I'm asking. It's the whole point, is that there's a lot of things that we'd have to look into, a lot of quotes we'd have to get in order to really know the answer to that. We obviously don't have it here tonight, but we do have to make a decision of what we're going to do for the next 30 days, 60 days, whatever tonight. So we do have to get somewhere.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion then that we terminate the contract for FAM.
I second it.
Okay, so my question then is, if we do the option 2 and we do the 75 days, we have the bond that's already going to cover us for any losses.
Well, we don't know how much the losses are at this point, but the $184,000
So
towards
up
that.
to $184,000
Right.
covering any of our losses. So if we make the 75 days contingent upon there being other financial safeguards if there is a lapse with the bond,
Or-
wouldn't we still be financially protected to at least give them the 75 days to see if they can?
Yeah, this would
pull
have
it
to
up?
be done if you went forward with them and gave them a chance. That would have to be done with a written agreement, because we want to make clear that we're not waiving, our claims with regard to the lease at this point. We're just simply allowing them to see what they're going to do, and I leave that up to Nick. And with regard to the legal aspects of this, since he's dealt with this before, I think he's still on, is he not?
I am, yes.
But could we also do that with the idea that there's no promise to FAM that after 30, 60, 90, 75 days, whatever they do, that we still accept them and we could still move forward in the meantime with option B to bring in somebody else to replace them, instead of just trying to say terminate them now and then we have one person who goes out there and gets the gas tanks filled. I mean,
So basically, like a 75-day probationary period where we're still covered financially, where
Right.
they have an opportunity to prove
Right.
themselves. If they don't, it's over.
Right.
If they do, then great.
and even then, there's no promise that even if they do prove themselves that we have to keep them, we could then still, for the whatever lease is extended, we could still say we found somebody else, FBO, guaranteed, simple in and out, and we're still not continue with the contract.
So-
That way we're got a backup plan in the works.
So Nick, does our non-waiver provision in the lease cover this?
Okay, that's what I'm saying is, if we stop right now, then we got nothing other than a city employee going out there and doing the basic, which they did before, which doesn't do anything for security or anything whatsoever for the existing tenants that are out there now. Let's see what they can do. In the meantime, let's move forward with the idea, looking for option B, and then at that time decide whether FAM or option B, and we got somebody to come in right away to step in instead of trying to figure something out, especially when we're getting the turnover of a city manager in another week, holidays coming up, and so on and so forth. I just think we should at least give it maybe to the first of the year and see what happens from there.
Well, I think whatever we do, if we're not going to exercise the breach of contract provisions, then need to have something in writing that's clear that we're not waiving those rights.
Correct.
And, we have the other caveats in there as well with regard to the performance bond and things like that, so that can all be is that something we can do, Nick?
Yeah, so essentially what you're talking about is sending a notice of default, but declining to enforce the defaults at this time.
Yeah.
And under the lease, there are certain defaults, namely the change in control issue, for which there's no cure period because they can't be cured. For other defaults, there are, the lease spells out a 30-day cure period. So if, those were the only defaults here, FAM would legally have 30 days to pursue a cure for those. I think essentially what, the discussion is here is writing FAM a letter that says, here are the defaults that we have identified under the lease, and we are going to put the bond company on notice of all of these defaults and reserve all of our rights to claim against the bond. However, notwithstanding the cure period of 30 days for these various defaults, we will give you until X date to cure, with the acknowledgement that we still reserve the right to enforce those defaults between 30 days and whatever that end period is. That's just some sort of off the cuff thinking about it, but I think that's sort of what you're driving at.
So I think, of course, there's a motion on the floor, and but it would seem to me like if the overall board's going to allow for the proceed forward, I think it could just be to allow Nick to put together the appropriate documentation as opposed to taking an action, so to speak. and then bring something back to you for you to approve in writing.
Could that be done in such a way that does not have an issue with the bond default, bond deadline, and all that?
Yeah, it would have to be quickly.
I would encourage, if you're going to do that, to go ahead and consider an action to direct your counsel to notify the bond company.
Well, sure. Yeah, I think that was going to be a given, regardless.
Yeah, we have to do that for sure. It's the rest of it.
I would say, I don't know this for sure, but I think the bond company may expect to see what action the city has taken to address whatever these breaches or defaults are. And so it may be, the city may stand a better chance of getting paid out on a bond claim if that claim or that notice is accompanied by a letter to FAM that says, here are all the defaults, and here is, we are formally notifying you of these defaults and showing the bond company that you've taken that action.
Okay.
I have a question. This is for the council. I sat there. What's the young man name that's sitting behind Chris? What's your name, sir? You.
Casey Roberts.
Miss Casey Roberts. What I heard was when each one of these council asked him questions about certain things that should have been in place, when we talked about security, the gates, the fence, the cameras, even when I went over the list of all what I really heard that the young man didn't just come out and say. Financially, they don't have the money. That's what I was hearing. When we told him, when I asked him, why don't you have cameras? And, he came up with this. And not one time did I hear him say, I know we don't have cameras, but y'all give me 30 days. We're going to have these cameras in place. Or these 3 gates we're going to get $1,700 times 3, and we're going to fix these 3 gates, and we're going to put security on them. I heard, at least the way he spoke, they don't have the money to do these things. And so why are we giving them more time? Unless he just can say, I have the money, I have these things fixed in 30, 60, 90 days. That's what I wanted to hear. They don't have the money. Because if they did, he would have been more direct. It didn't happen. I can't explain to you why it didn't happen. I'm here now. And these gates are going to get fixed. We're going to secure these holes. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to give a time frame, and we're going to do it. I didn't hear none of that. What I heard was that financially, they're not able to do none of these things. That's what I heard.
Okay. Jerry, I have a question real quick. Whenever you do a line of credit, a letter of credit, or whatever we're talking, a letter of credit, do they ever take into account things that have happened and within the business? Like they don't have financials, they don't have they don't have audited financials. Would the letter of credit kind of look at that kind of stuff? So there's not really a guarantee that they would even get that letter, right?
I mean, somebody's going to have the money to put up in a bank account for the bond. Then the bank basically holds that money. I mean, it still earns interest and everything else, but they won't release that money to anybody except under the terms of the letter of credit. So that makes it like a bond, only it's basically a cash bond. They're basically putting it up cash-wise. It's not going to us, but it's sitting there waiting. If we make a demand on it, then they have to pay it in the circumstances. So the demand would be in the letter of credit. And I think
so they can't replace the cameras and they can't fix the fence, but they're going to come up with a $182,000 bond.
Well, we don't know that yet,
line of credit.
But we're going to put together a document that they'll have to sign. And at that point, we'll bring that signed document to you. If they're capable of signing the document, good. If not, well, we're back to goodbye.
We're back to tonight.
All right. All right, then I have one question for Dr. Kelly. I hate to put this on you a short time like this. If we were to terminate the contract tonight, do you have somebody that would be able to do something to be in charge with the airport?
Not right now, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Now, this is a public meeting, so there's public here. Is there any other comments? Do you have any responses? Or you have to be in the microphone though. Just give your name, and organization again.
Casey Roberts, Florida Airport Management. I got notification that Michael Powell is on the video and has had his hand raised wanting to address. So I wanted to see if you guys could give him a moment to address the things he's wishing to address, if he's still on.
You were on his name up top, weren't you?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, Mr. Powell.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, esteemed members of the council. I apologize. I actually had to drive back from the hospital to join the conversation, so forgive my tardiness. But there were several things that I raised my hand and I didn't get recognized.
Mr. Powell, if you can speak as loud as you can. We're having trouble hearing you.
Sure. Yes, sir. How's that?
It's not much better, but give it a shot anyway.
Okay. A couple things that I wanted to address. Somebody was asking about the grants, the percentages on the grants. Mr. Casey Roberts was correct that it's 70-30, but the Avon Park Executive Airport has a rural designation. That means if you work with your partners at FDOT, the projects ultimately get funded at 100%. I've been actually talking to Melody and speaking to Kimberly Horn, Mr. Brian Goodling, your engineer of record, and trying to help those folks with the $3 million project for access control out at the airport that we did secure, and they are currently underway with that project. There's a multitude of different ways where we can partner together. I'd identified $50 million worth of projects, and what's honestly crippled us for all the time that we've been out there is nobody understood exactly who we were, how we were supposed to operate, and what we were eligible for, because we secured $2.7 million for the fencing project we called Phase 1 that included the entire front end all the way down the west side to include the safety area, the approach into runway 10, on the east side all the way down past Jim Renfro's hangar. So that was Phase 1 to include new security cameras. And we actually partnered with the city, and you went through the entire design with Kimberly Horn, and you have that already on the shelf. They pulled all the funding when we were getting ready to start construction. I'd gotten approval for a $4 million parallel taxiway for runway 10-28 because it's a runway occupancy issue and it's a safety hazard. They were going to fund that. We were creative and got the FDOT to sign off on a DRA, Deferred Reimbursement Agreement, that had only ever been done at one other airport, and that was all about the same time that they pulled the funding. They were going to give us $2.3 million to build a new set of hangars. So it's not for lack of trying. We got creative as we could, and I'm used to running multiple projects a year to, bring airports, into compliance. And we've honestly not been able to do that other than, maintain what was already there. So that is regretful because I strategically develop airports. That's what I do, and we've been able to do none of that the entire time we've been there. But some of the other things that I think I remember people talking about is, well, I can't remember all of them right now, but I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have on anything. We've got everything lined up. I even brought the FAA out there when FDOT pulled their funding because I've had a relationship with most of those folks for over 2 decades. And I actually had the assistant manager see the condition of the rotating beacon, some of the things out on the field, so they understood, the seriousness we need to move at the speed of light. And they did say that they were going to go ahead and fund what they normally don't do. They leave the smaller projects for the state folks, but they understood, the condition of the facilities. And again, as soon as we get everything squared away and check a box, because everybody is overly cautious, because we're the first group to do this before, and it's really just hurt us. It's definitely not the city's fault, but the FAM has tried everything possible to go about a normal process where it's really not that difficult to get a project and make an improvement at a public use airport, and we honestly haven't been able to do anything. But I'm happy to answer any questions one may have, and I'm sorry for my tardiness.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Powell?
Mr. Powell, how long have you been out there with the airport with JT Clark?
A little over 3 years, ma'am.
And so you didn't have any idea what was going on as far as the internal workings of the finances?
No, ma'am. I didn't do that. You normally don't have a multitude of people with direct access to financials. That's usually a single person. And I'm not there all the time. I was there for 3 days. But I came in and trained everybody the proper way, gave them procedures, how to inspect the airfield, how we go. Excuse me. How we go about getting grant funds and things of that nature.
Mr. Powell, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Are you all right?
No. Sorry.
Can you repeat what you just said because you cut out?
Oh, yes, ma'am. No, I didn't handle any of the finances. They had a bookkeeper, a financial person, and I came out there to ensure like airport, airfield compliance and to get projects going.
Okay, so what was your position out there while you were with JT?
For most of the time, it was COO and toward the end, CEO.
Okay, I'm having a hard time believing that a COO didn't know his financials on his own corporation company. That's all I got.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Powell?
No.
Okay. Is there any other comments or questions?
Well, I just like members of the council, if they want to terminate the contract tonight, I understand your reasons why. It's like the go-to decision, I would think. But do you have any plans on what the city would do if we would move forward with that plan? It seems like the city manager doesn't have a plan. We're going to have a new interim city manager next week. So what are your ideas if we move forward with your motions for the city to do starting tomorrow? Do you have any suggestions?
I would suggest maybe putting out some kind of an RFQ to get somebody in there in 30 days if possible.
So for 30 days, there'll be nobody at the airport.
I'm sure that the department heads, I don't know, somebody
You're
could.
going to need at least 30 days of notice, and then you'll.
So we're going to give, if we terminate this contract tonight, we're still going to give them 30. We have to give them 30 days.
Well, you have to go through the process of doing the default notice, and
Now, Jerry, under the grant requirements piece, if those aren't being met, the city could step in.
yep.
Correct.
What'd you
Yeah.
talk-
So there's two. It's sort of two separate and distinct but very related remedies. The city can step in and operate the airport if FAM is not doing so, in a safe and secure manner, and they can do that without any notice required.
Your RFP would have to be at least 30 days, I would think. If I've noticed, and then you'd have to have a meeting to decide who you select, assuming you get good responses.
Yeah. So separately, the city, as it stands today, has grounds to terminate the lease because of the change of control breach. Because that is not curable, that is an existing breach, and there's nothing that FAM can do, no matter how long the cure period is. And so the city does not need to wait to terminate the lease on those grounds.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. If you will, just give your name and address or organization.
Good evening. I'm Janice Rierick, and I'm speaking just as a citizen with a suggestion, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
please. I think that Mrs. Taylor and Ms. McCure have come up with a very reasonable idea to present an RFP, RFQ, but at the same time, as we know in business, whenever there's a major transition, very often the current employees will be asked to reapply for their job. And this is something that happens when you're trying to bring in someone new. You might have a merger, an acquisition, or just a transition. And it looks like this is something that the city is looking at, a transition of some kind. What I would suggest is go with the RFP, RFQ idea. And if FAM is able to, during this period of time that you're talking about having a chance to cure, which is probably part of the current contract with them, they can certainly be part of and respond to that RFQ. Everybody gets a chance to reapply for their job, so to speak, and at the same time, the position is open for others to apply as well. So that would just be, like I said, a suggestion that you might be able to go with. Your 30, 60, 90 day, however you think is a safe period of time. I think it's interesting, and I agree that they don't have the money for $1,700 gates. That's what, times three, maybe $6,000. And we've just invited them to apply for $50,000. So we might want to watch out from our city funding how much we give them access to if they haven't got $6,000 to fix 3 fences. What are they going to do with $50,000? That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of money that is earmarked for taking care of our airport. So those are my thoughts, and I appreciate the chance to share them with you.
Yes, ma'am. You do realize the motion was made to end the lease right now.
Yes, and I understand that that's sensible, and there are other suggestions to perhaps end it and then bring on a RFP, because that's how you'll choose a new management system, I assume.
Right.
So maybe that would be something. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so ending the lease right now would, I believe would be a mistake. I think but I'll leave that to you. Sure.
What was that, Mr. Burr?
I believe that ending the lease today would be a mistake at this moment. Stepping in might be an option, but the other option too, where you're going to provide some framework for them to proceed forward for 75 days, would also have the provision in it that, they would, if they can't get those things done in 75 days, they were out, period. And they would have to agree to that. I think that why don't you allow Nick to formulate something that might be acceptable to everybody, but it's your decision.
Mr. Burr, why it have to be 75 days?
Well, they can't get their.
Haven't we been giving them time after time?
Well, maybe that's just the reason is, we need to have some additional time to get what they say. They have a new person that's going to get things done. We wanted it originally. You'll be, walking away with some value if they can get it done. But it's, I know it's a difficult decision, but I think the motion that's on the floor is not the correct one.
Okay, any other comments before we?
Yeah, I'll make one last comment. I agree with the city attorney. I actually agree with Bernice too. I think that this has been a long process. Like you said many times, I said, what's taking so long? What's taking so long? Let's get it going. And we were told that, that was going to be great for the city, and that's how the members of the council voted. And it's just, there's definitely issues inside their company as there are in other areas of other companies and situations. I think under the present day situation that the city is in now, without really, at the end of the week, with not even a city manager in place or somebody to take over the airport, and we have nobody in the city to really go out there and start managing even just the bare minimum, I think I rather, because of what's happening within the city itself, I think we need to give them the time. At the same time, it provides service for the city. It gives us the time, and with the new city manager, to maybe come up with another plan and another time frame and move forward. So I see, believe me, my first idea is I agree with you, it's really difficult to give you a second chance. Very, very difficult, because it was a long, long fight, and we've given you plenty of times, and you got too many excuses. I agree with Ms. Taylor. She's right. But right now, I think it's just bad timing. And, the holidays coming up. We only have one more meeting scheduled. I mean, I know we can have special meetings, but I think for the time being, if they're willing under the current terms that the attorneys both decided, that we could give them the time, but with no guarantees that before or at the end of the time that we say, sorry, we changed our mind, you're out. I think that's our best option to go, and that's the direction I would vote at this time.
So in 75 days, that'll be after Christmas, and then we'll be in the process of hiring a city manager, right? Give or take. So then is that going to be another excuse to kick it down the road because I'm just asking, I'm not attacking, I'm just asking. So is that going to be another excuse for us to say, oh, you know what, let's give them 30 more days or 60 more days?
I actually think the interim city manager coming in here will be a great asset to us to come up with some ideas and his opinions, and that we can come up with a plan to, have options available starting next month, which is only 2 weeks away. And in the meantime, we got coverage. And you're right. I don't know whether 75 days is too much, but I don't like it. We're in a bad situation right now, and it's bad for everybody. But we have to do what's in the best interest of the airport and the city right now. And so you're right. I don't want to give them any more time.
Well,
But what are we going to do in the meantime? We don't have any other plans to do anything whatsoever. So that's why I'm willing to go with what the lawyers suggested we do.
It's your right to condone bad behavior. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's
Well-
bad behavior.
Well, Shelley, I like to say
we,
this.
we do have
Mayor.
somebody that wants to make a comment here.
Oh, sorry.
I can wait. Why don't you, if you want to finish your comment?
Well, Shelley, I like what Jim said, and it does make sense. And I'm willing to take back my second, but I don't agree with the 75 days. I don't think that they should get 75 days. But I also think that whatever our finance directors say that they need to correct it by that deadline. And if they don't, we pull the plug. On that day.
Didn't we already have a deadline?
Okay,
Twice?
we did, Miss Shelley, but watch this. Jim made sense. On Friday, it's going to be our last, our city manager. It's going to be her last day on Friday.
Right.
We got a mess going on in the city.
Right.
If no one else admit to it, we got a mess going on with the city. We got a lot of going on right
We
now.
do.
And so it's a lot with that airport. I agree with everything Jim said. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of that airport. I'm just sick of all that's going on out there because the city's going to have to take some responsibility in this as well. Okay. Somewhere, somehow, we dropped the ball. Okay. And so with that being said, it's too much going on for us to just close the airport down. I agree with Jim. And so I'm willing to take my motion back as long as it's not a 75 days that we give them.
You can't really do that, but you can vote it down.
How many days would you suggest?
60.
Yeah, we had to make a new motion and all that.
I think the only reason he said 75 was because FAM was saying they needed 60.
They had to have 60 to get their audit, and then he was giving them some extra days to prove up some abilities to go forward.
So that's only 15 days. FAM is the one saying they need the 60. And so then we're just giving 15 extra, or based on his recommendation, 15 extra days for any kind of
Nope.
holiday issues, mail
no
issues.
Extra, no extra. They get 60. I mean, that's my opinion. They get 60.
This is what we've been looking for, is good communication from you guys.
And your name is?
Is Chris Downey, 109 West Main Street. This is what we've been looking for, communication. 3 questions. Bernice took one of them, so I have 2 questions left. Who is Nicole Roberts, and what relation is she to Casey? And how could Casey not, and what caused the rift between Casey and JT? Because without that information, I don't think you guys can vote. So who is Nicole Roberts? What's her relationship to ROCI now? And what caused the rift between JT and Casey, and how is Nicole involved?
Casey, do you care?
Nicole Roberts is my wife. Sorry, Casey Roberts, Florida Airport Management. Nicole Roberts is my wife. Okay. She's been with me through thick and thin. Been married 22 years. And you're asking what is her position in FAM right now? As per the Articles of Incorporation, she is the... That's what we're going with right now, is currently Vice President. Okay. We are still looking to find that position for CEO, but CEO Rossi isn't going to overtake what FAM Cavo is doing. So finding that position is going to take a little bit of a time, but it doesn't affect how FAM Cavo is going to work or operate. So to me, it's that we've got time for that. I know you say that you're going to require that for making that decision. I don't see how that matters. All that matters is that there was a rift and that we separated. She was always at 300. Always. It's not there's no clue. It's an internal. That's internal company decision. It had no effect on when I left. The management agreement was going just fine. Everything was working out at the airport. It wasn't until recently, when we found out what was happening out at the airport, that I decided to step back in. So the rift to me it really doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm here now. So I wanted to add a couple more things. It's not going to be extensive, but FAM has put in a lot of money already to take care of this. $1,700 for a gate, I got it. We have put in up to, close to, with our consulting fees and everybody else we've had to pay to get the AIPP closed, close to $1 million. So when you say we have no money, it's because we put all of our eggs into a basket to make sure that this got done so that we could improve this airport. This airport had one person out there. You're not going to find somebody like Michael Powell for the money that you're going to have to put out. It's just not going to happen because it's a small airport. No airport manager wants to come out here, and you're not going to be able to find the same type of talent that Michael Powell is. When it comes to giving us more time, the reason we need the extra time is we just, I'm going to point out again, October 30th got access to the grants, meaning the FAA just asked us to become part of the Delphi system. So that wasn't there a year ago. You're saying, well, it's been a year that you haven't done anything. No, since 2023, we've been working with consultants to get that fence taken care of. That's the reason it didn't come out of our pockets during that time. We wanted to make sure that it went through the right process. This fencing and gate and everything else issue was there before we got here, and it's going to be there if you guys decided to get rid of us. You're still going to have to figure out how to do that, which means you'd have to go through the same process we did to hire a consultant to get that taken care of. We did put in a ton of work to make sure that we would move forward with the right things for this airport.
I guess what I'm saying is when you signed the contract, you took on those responsibilities. Did you not?
We did, but just like the FAA record of decision stated, we had 2 years to cure that issue. We still have time on that curable time frame of the record of decision. So it's not like we have gone outside of that. I got it. We have other issues with the AIPP, but making it sound like FAM hasn't lived up to at least managing the airport, putting money into the airport, making sure the airport is upkept, because it's not just putting somebody behind a desk. They're going to have to mow the airport to make sure that the tenants out there, it's the way they want it to be, because you now have full tenancy. You didn't have that when we got here.
But sir, you're not here, or we're not here, the city and FAM. We're not here today because of the things you did. We're here because of the things you didn't do.
Which, ma'am, was on both sides.
Okay. We play.
I agree.
We play
So
a
was things not done on both sides. I am here to only focus on what FAM can do. Again, October 30th, we are now on the precipice, and you just stated it, going through these holidays. Does federal government work well through holidays? Thanksgiving and Christmas specifically?
No.
Never. So we are going to be here still managing the airport, doing exactly what Mr. Burr stated. I got it. It's not ideal for both parties. But giving us a 60-day window in the 2 worst months of the year when it comes to federal funding, bureaucracy, you name it, it's going to be difficult. So we will still maintain, though, and I promise you we'll still be as transparent as possible to show you that we are moving forward in the right way. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
75 days, all you're ever going to need? Is that
I mean, I'm ready to show you how we already improved in October. November is just another month that I'm going to be able to show another improvement. That's all I'm looking for at this point, is a month-to-month improvement, just like I think you guys are looking for when you're talking about a time period. So,
I think at the end of the 75 days, we want all the problems fixed.
we don't
I'm
want
not
no
talking about the property stuff, but we don't want to wait another 30 and then just get a little bit of an improvement, and then 30 more days, a little bit of an improvement. No, if we say 75 days, and at the end of the 75 days, we expect to have it all.
I understand.
Or nothing. I mean, it's
so it could be.
I don't think we need to keep dragging it out and stuff like that, but we also don't need to cold turkey it and not have a plan. I feel like it would be, as long as we can, notice to the bond, get that going in case we need it. Give them the 75 days to turn in all of their paperwork. It would be a really good thing on your part if you could do some security camera and gate measures out there. If it is only $1,700 a gate, it's kind of like a goodwill faith measure to show us that you're serious about it. And then make sure that we're protected if there is any gap in that bond. and then let's do that. But let's do the 75 with both holiday period. But just so y'all know, that's it. That's where I'm at. That's it. 75. That's it.
I understand.
Have it
I
fixed.
agree. I have one more question for Mr. Cleary. I believe that you stated that when we talked about the 75 days, that you discussed it amongst your people, what company, business partners, or whatever?
No, it was Jerry and Nick and Melody and Randy and I discussed it.
Okay.
And
All
that's
right.
where we came up with the 75.
Okay. Well, if they think we need 75,
I think that, we need to be fair with it because it doesn't do. Oh. I didn't hear.
At the end of the 75 days, what's your alternative plan?
I think you said give us
Yes, ma'am.
75 days alternate plan.
Thank you. Dolores Miranda, 4051 East Old Bombing Range Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, and I can't remember if it was the September or the November letter. The city specifically wanted information on responsible parties for the wrongdoing and the financial, let's just call it stuff. Ma'am, did we ever get an answer for who the responsible parties are? Anybody?
No, ma'am, that's in process.
Then how do we know the responsible party isn't still part of FAM 2?
Understood.
That's something we'll have to deal with in the deal, whatever we come up with.
Well, I think we need to know that answer before the 75 days are up, don't
Sure.
y'all?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And one other thing about the 75 days, we're also dealing with the investigation at the airport with the fire thing too. So that's another issue that the city's dealing with.
I have a question for Mr. Roberts.
Ow.
What is the audit time frame? What period?
So the audit time frame starts back from 2024 to 2025.
What dates?
So when we took the lease in the beginning of 2024, up until current for 2025.
So through October 30th?
October, yep.
31st?
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor? So Nick said, what's an alternative plan at 75 days?
What was the question?
What's the alternative plan at 75 days?
If they don't,
If they don't
meet the
comply?
requirements, what are we going to do? You saying? Okay.
Yeah, that'll be all covered in the documentation. I don't want to step ahead of that, but we'll bring you back something that will be something that we can hopefully all live with.
Okay, so wait a minute. So in 75 days, if they haven't met everything, dotted their T's, crossed their I's, we terminate their agreement, and then what? Who are we going to have run the airport then?
Yeah, so
That's what he just
Well,
said. He was
hopefully
going
we'll
to
work on
draft.
another
Right.
option in between.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And are you going to say no if it's 76 days? I'm
Yes.
just always saying we need.
Yes.
We're going to need to go through all those possibilities with the documentation.
Well, here's the thing, Mr. Burke. I get you the attorney, and you represent the city of Avon Park. And I know how, attorneys get together and they make a decision, give them 7 more days. Me personally, I don't want to give them 3 more days. I don't want to give them 7 more days. If this council agree with the 75 days, notice I done moved from 60 now to 75. I don't want you and the other attorneys to get together behind the council back and come to the council and say, we think we should give them another 77 days, 10 days. I think that whatever we decide here tonight, if it's 75 days, it end on the 75th day if they don't meet the
That's-
requirements.
Perfectly okay if that's what your decision is. But if we come back with you and say that they need another 75 days, it's up to you to say no. I mean, that's fine. But we'll have a good reason why if that's the case. I mean, a really good reason why, I can tell you. I'm not saying that we do that anyway, but I think you should wait and let's see what the documentation says. And Nick and I will get together with Lowell and Melody, and we'll figure out where we need to go with this. And where we have some safety with regard to our accounts, and at the same time allow them an opportunity to move forward, but prove up what they think they can do. if that's what you decide.
And I guess why I'm saying it, Mr. Burry, is I don't remember the council voting on the 30 days, did we? Then the 7 day. I don't remember the council ever voting on that, but some kind of way, we was going along with it. And I'm just saying that if the council, whatever the council vote on here today, if the council agree that on that day, we terminate. We don't want you to come back and bring it back to us another 3 days, 10 days, 7 days. I'm just saying.
Got it.
I agree with you on that, and, well, I want to know, Jerry or whatever, you think you can have that new information ready by the next city council meeting for us to vote on?
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
we're gonna have to pass something tonight.
What?
We're gonna have to pass something tonight.
Well, tonight, I think we just, I would, what you have to dispose of the motion that's on the
Anybody been out to the
floor,
airport?
but I would just simply suggest that you just vote to allow us to put together a document that would summarize what needs to happen, and rather than having a vote that might jeopardize our position.
Sure. But we want the 75 days to start now.
Yes.
Okay.
And we also, I'm assuming that would be ready by our December 8th meeting.
That's what I'm asking.
Or, you know, I don't see why it couldn't be ready for December 8th or sooner, but I leave that up to Nick because he needs to put it together. And then, of course, if you wanted to meet earlier, we'd have to find that out as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely by December 8th, no doubt.
Well, Jerry, I think the key things we can definitely say is to correct the defaults that can be correctable, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, meet the grant requirements for sure, and have a bond or a letter of credit for sure.
Right.
Okay?
And
audited financial statements.
And demonstrative progress with regard to the fence security as well. I would think that'd be part of it. And I think that we need, as part of it, to have some security with regard to the funds that they have their control over right now, so that maybe add us as a another signatory. I mean, somebody at the city, like, as an additional signatory on those checks, so that those funds don't just suddenly disappear. Not saying that it happened. I'm just simply saying we're talking about security here, and things like that. I think we should have also a partial ability to go in and oversee the operation, to that extent. Because I don't want to be 75 days and say, oh, well, we haven't seen what happened in 75 days. Now they come in and say, here's what's happened. Nothing. We at that way, we would have somebody there that could be able to say, yep, this is what's happening, and bring us up to speed and give us a status report as to that. And so it'd be partial stepping in, at that point. I think that'll also make FAA feel a little more comfortable as well.
What about the cameras, Jerry?
Yeah, I think that the cameras are reasonable.
Casey Roberts, Florida Airport Management. We'll take care of the cameras immediately. Is that acceptable?
It's a start.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. We'll get them taken care of immediately.
I have a question for you, Mr. Roberts. I'm sorry, Mr. Bird, or whoever that was, Jim. So whenever you apply for your airport license through FDOT, they come out and do an inspection, right?
They do.
So I read on this that you had 27 violations on your inspection report. Is that correct?
That's our inspection report, by the way. And we have multiple inspections for going back years. I have a stack that's behind a picture frame, that shows that it is, for a long time, not met the standards. Those same 27. So it's always been in the wrong. As a matter of fact,
State of Florida Department of Transportation.
I think what he's saying is, when it was under our control, the same 27 were there.
Okay, this was done on
You, sir, in the red, did you have a comment?
Humberto.
Humberto?
No, he's good.
may I approach? I took a scan of the current and last year's. Both wrong. I could have scanned all of them, going back, like it was stated earlier, decades, to show that it has never been in compliance. So I will gladly provide these as part of it.
I have it.
Okay. Well, it's not just that one. I wanted to show the one before to show that it's not us. It's been the airport the entire time.
So,
Yeah, but
these
you
are
keep
still-
saying that. When you took over, you took the responsibility of them.
All right,
we've
we're
already
trying
done all
to
that.
we're trying to go forward here, people.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, yes.
Michael Powell's raising his hand again.
Make it quick, pal.
Yes, sir, understand. I just wanted to share that ever since we came out there, all the discrepancies that were listed had been previous. You're talking about faded markings out there, everything that we've had in for a project for the entire 3+ years that we've been out there. They've been ongoing issues. I actually know personally the gentleman that comes out and does the annual inspections. The city actually had the wrong globes on the displaced threshold for 2 years, and he was ready to shut the airport down because of something that simplistic had not been done. A lot of those ongoing issues, sir, can only be corrected with a grant because it's a very sizable project, about 1.9 million for the markings, things of that nature.
And see, that's my problem. We can replace it if we get a grant. We can fix this if we get a grant.
All right, so we got a motion and a second on the floor. We'll go ahead and call the roll.
What's
The motion that was made was to terminate the lease immediately. That was the original motion that was made by Shelley, seconded by yourself.
Yep, that one needs to be voted down.
Correct.
Please.
What's that?
Yeah, it belongs to the board now, so it has to be voted on.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
No.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
No.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
No.
Mayor Anderson?
No.
Okay.
Lowell, could you please repeat the things that we can vote on tonight?
You can vote on directing your council to notify the bond company of potential claims. That would be number one. Also direct your council to prepare a notification to FAM of default and to identify the issues that must be resolved within 75 days to be back in compliance.
I'm thinking that it would be more than that, quite frankly. I think, let's just say prepare documentation and go from there.
Okay.
What do you mean
just
more than that?
So the first motion should be to direct council to call the performance bond and give them the items that we think need to be resolved with the advice and counsel of Nick and Lowell.
So moved.
In 75 days?
No.
That's not part of it.
That's immediate.
Okay. Well, I'll second that.
We have
So do we have a deadline then?
okay, this is
That's
just to
just
notify the bond. This
That's
has
just to
nothing to do with
notify the
the
bond.
bond.
Okay.
We're gonna make a claim.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions on this motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Another motion would be for you to direct council to work with Lowell and Nick with regard to documentation that would possibly provide the 75 days for up to 75 days for FAM to fix the problems in a manner that which we would agree to.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a date on 75 days? I wrote it down here. I think it's February.
26.
Crap,
Or
I wrote it.
January 26th, I'm sorry.
January 26th.
Yeah, that would be 75 days from today, I believe. In either case, we have.
And Nick, is that motion okay? Nick?
Yes, the only thing that I would want maybe clarification on is how are we intending to treat the performance bond or letter of credit during that 75 days?
How are we intending to treat it?
Are we?
Is it okay to lapse
if FAM
during
is
that
not
time period, or do
able
they
to
need to
secure
restore
a
it?
replacement bond or letter of
Yeah,
credit?
that'll be included
during
in
those 75
documentation.
days?
That's why I say there's a lot of moving parts in the doc, and that's why we're calling it documentation. Because we'll also want to, like I said, deal with the accounts to make sure that those are safe and things like that, which are not necessarily defaults, but they, for us to allow them to go forward, we want to have that safety valve.
Yeah.
Would it be okay
Yeah,
to say that we do not want a bond to lapse? We have to have a bond or a letter of credit in place at all times.
Right. That'll be in the documentation if you that's what you're wanting.
Well, certainly want it to be in there.
Yeah, and that's what I just wanted to make sure, Jerry, that we were on the record with that as sort of, you know, a risk or not risk that the city
Sure.
was willing to vote on.
Right. I think we're on record for that. It has to be before the 22nd.
So so there's no
So Friday.
no lapse.
No lapse, gotcha.
Because once the 22nd's gone, the
financial
bond's
security.
What's that?
Once the 22nd comes, the bond's gone, and they may or may not give it back, and nobody can promise that it's going to be back. So we have to have some kind of verification that we're going to have protection going in the future.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please call a roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
I apologize to everyone here, but can you repeat what the motion is? I'm sorry.
To work with council to prepare the document for 75 days to remedy all the issues with no lapse in bond.
Oh, I'm glad you can remember it.
Did pretty good.
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, we have our direction. So just as an administrative item, this packet, don't give it to anybody. It's confidential. We leave it to the city clerk to work with FAM as to what is confidential and what is not. They're going to be very clear. If we get any claims for it, they'll be on the hot seat with regard to that.
Miss Records Keeper. There you have it. It's mine. All right. Is there anything else for the good of the city?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Are we going to move forward with an RFQ so that we're doing this in parallel in the event that the 75 days doesn't work out?
Yeah, I plan on including an RFP for somebody that's going to be an advisor, even if we ultimately forgive and forget going forward. We're going to want somebody who's an expert that periodically go out there and say,
No, I'm
okay,
talking-
they're good, they're not good, or whatever.
Just in case this doesn't work out.
Yeah.
We don't want to be back at square one again in 75 days. So my question is, would it be a good idea to move forward at this time with an RFP for FBO manager?
Yes, I said that. I was saying that was what I intended.
Okay,
but
but
the
then-
difference is we're not going to get somebody to operate the airport. We're going to get somebody that's capable of operating the airport to tell us what's going on at the airport and during the 75 days. I mentioned that earlier.
Okay, was that part of the motion and I missed it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just, that's why it was documentation, because there's a lot of moving parts that we have to put in there, and then we have to get them to agree to it, and, then we bring it back to the council, and if they accept it, then we move forward.
So, and Dolores, on a separate
Yes, sir.
note, so after, especially, some of the stuff came out, and then especially after the fires, there's quite a few people that reached out to me to basically express their support for the airport in general, that, hey, they're in general aviation. They love the fact that there is an airport in Avon Park. They think that, airport could do so much more, could, do so many great things out there. So my intention, after whatever documentation they come up with and we vote on it, whether it be before or on December 8th, after that point was to hold basically 1 or 2 public workshops to try and invite those people in to decide what do we want Avon Park Airport to actually be, and kind of start the process of, okay, if that does not work out, this is definitely what we want, because we don't want to
Awesome.
get to the end of that and say, okay, this didn't work out, now what do we do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good question.
Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing no, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.
Thank you.